head I feel thoughts build up until I can't feel that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head I feel the thoughts build up until I can't hear that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Michelle, obviously, you know what this stuff was all about, right? It's not a surprise that we showed up tonight.
Hi, guys. So, welcome to trial day 10. And yeah, definitely some fireworks today. Unfortunately, the audio, I don't know what you guys thought of the audio, but certainly at turns it was horrible. Large sections almost completely inaudible, which is, I think, why this channel has, I think it's NBC Connecticut, has provided some audio that is not from that particular section. I know there's 3 interrogations in all. One was on June 2nd, another June 6th, and then the third August 13th. The fact that there were 3, I think, tells you something about how unsatisfactory each statement was, and each of them was quite long. And you can see here the investigator saying to her, look how worried she looks here. It's not a surprise that we showed up tonight, is it? And prior to that, Michelle, obviously you know what this stuff is all about, right? Rhetorical question, but you know, the prosecution still need to prove their case.
You know what this stuff was all about, right? It's not a surprise that we showed up tonight.
Almost overnight, she went from a possible witness to a person of interest in the case of a missing mom of 5 from New Canaan.
We see state police, New Canaan police, searching downtown Hartford.
So what's that about? Why is the scene moved to Hartford?
You need to tell us what you know about Jennifer's murder.
So there, the audio really is clear, and I'm looking forward to getting to that part of the interview. And what is the answer to that question? Did she say what she knew? Has she said what she knew? Thanks a lot, Barbara Chet.
And Forrest Dulles.
The girlfriend in the middle of a bitter and brutal divorce battle.
Stuff you were throwing out, we have. And it's all Jennifer. It belongs to Jennifer. Do you understand?
See, there's a reaction. Oh my God. Is that a genuine reaction? Is she reacting to the fact that they have found it, or the fact that she didn't know it was Jennifer? Right?
Turned high-profile murder investigation.
Guys, what happened to Jennifer, Michelle? You're gonna do the right thing, Michelle?
We're taking you inside the trial.
So someone made a comment here. Let's see if I can find it. And it is quite interesting that she's wearing a shirt that looks very similar to the shirt Jennifer was murdered in. When she was arrested, Michelle Troconis was wearing a shirt that looks identical. I'm not saying, I mean, obviously it isn't the same shirt, but it's a very similar style, if you will.
Guys, what happened to Jennifer, Michelle? You're gonna do the right thing, Michelle?
We're taking you inside the trial of Michelle Troconis.
And thanks.
Okay, so that is just a little bit of an intro. I made a couple of notes. I'm going to share some of those with you, but we are also going to just watch some of the. We're going to, watch some of it in real time. I'm going to greet you guys in a moment. I just want to get organized here. So this is some of the headlines that have come out today. Can I do that? Michelle Troconis sobs in court as detective dismantles her steamy lie about having a shower with photos DULOS the morning he murdered the estranged wife, Jennifer. Is that an accurate headline? Doesn't she sob during the in the interrogation cubicle? Or is that an accurate headline that she bursts out crying when that is asserted? So it says here, Stanford Superior Court jurors were shown videos of the 49-year-old Venezuelan socialite being interrogated. Troconis broke down in tears, dabbed her nose with a tissue, and placed her hands on her head in a moment of anguish. Was she sobbing? Was she crying? Daily Mail often exaggerate this sort of thing. Or was she perhaps trying to distract the jury at a critical time? So there's a picture of her. Those do seem to be real tears, by the way. And why would she be crying about something like that? That someone had perhaps caught her out. Is she crying for herself? Is she crying because it's unfair? Is she crying because it's not true? What could it be? Is she crying because the game is up? What's the deal? So this is the moment when that happened. I'll just quickly play that. Oh no.
So my normal day, the alarm sounds, usually I'm in my room, she's in her room. She wakes up, she's very independent, she wakes up, I hear the shower turning on. That day I slept with her because from Thursday to Friday it was raining. Okay.
So we are going to talk about that in a bit more detail, but what's quite astonishing is she has herself sleep with her daughter, sleep in probably the same bed, same room. You know, mothers sometimes do that with young children, she says, because there's a storm. You actually had the same thing in the Madeleine McCann case where Kate McCann slept in the room, not with her husband. And I don't know, just a random bit of information there. But she then says that she goes from her daughter's room to taking a shower with photos.
There was thunderstorms. Okay. So she called me at 12:59 when she's scared. I mean, I have the phone next to my bed. Right. She called me. I answered. She said, "I'm scared." And obviously, I mean, when she says that, I hang up and I go. I leave my phone and I go to her room. Okay. So I did that. So obviously, I woke up and I was with her in her bed. The alarm sound. I wake up and I go to our bedroom. I turn off my alarm, but it's snoozing there as well. Fotis wakes up too. When I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, and I get into the shower. I don't wet my head usually because usually I take a fast shower to take me going. Fotis jumps into the shower with me.
So that's already quite a weird detail. She says, I think, she says that she takes a shower but without getting her hair wet. Does that make sense to you guys? Also, I'm not sure if they have sex in the shower or have sex afterwards, but she somehow doesn't get her hair wet.
Probably it's a 5-minute shower, I don't know. Okay. Maybe less. I get out, I shower. Before I go usually to the bathroom, I go I have my period, and I have it, which is weird. I've had it like for more than 9 days.
Right.
I guess the stress. So that is actually that's the first thing I do. Then I shower. I usually put like light clothes, my exercise clothes, leggings, or a sweatpants, or a black sweater because it's been cold. I go down with Nicole. I ask her what she wants to eat. She says usually it's an omelette with cheese.
So another thing that is very hard to avoid thinking about is in the Amanda Knox case, in the middle of a crime scene, in the middle of a murder, she is having her period, apparently. In other words, she's bleeding. And you have something similar here. As far as I can remember, she also talks about going to the Starbucks after some of those disposal drops because of the same thing.
Or waffle. The day before, I peeled some oranges and carrots because she was going to take for the school for a project juices for 10 girls. So I go down. She helps me squeeze the oranges in the machine. I put it in a big thermo that we have, the whole juice. I don't know if her or me, we have a white cooler. I take the ice from the freezers down. I pour it in the cooler, and I put the thermo. Obviously, I didn't close it well, so at the end it spills, but not now. I do the omelette. She eats, and then we go to school.
Okay. That wasn't terribly revealing, certainly not as revealing as the headline suggested. So here's another one from the Daily Mail. She says, I'm innocent. I'm just trying to close that. She says, I'm like so innocent. She breaks down in police interview after they grilled her about helping her lover. So that's just another version of that. So there's another reaction from her. And I have to say, I watched the beginning of it. I'm not sure if you guys noticed when the day began. It's just quite interesting. So right at the beginning of the court day, when they said they're going to bring the jury in, the first person to stand up was Michelle Troconis. And the feeling I get is that she was kind of hypervigilant and very nervous. And I mean, that could be the case whether you're innocent or not. If a lot of your testimony is going to be played and this is D-Day for you in a murder trial, I think you would also be on your toes. But it was interesting how the judge says you're going to bring the jury in, and one person popped up, and it was Michelle Troconis. And she continued standing, and then, of course, the jury then came in. So I've written down a couple of notes. I've already mentioned her standing up. She also was, well, she wasn't told this. The court was told that Fotis seemed to be intimidating Michelle during the interrogation period. So I'm not quite sure how it was taking place, but that they say that through his body language, through the fact that he was staring at her, they were saying to her, you know, we are worried about your safety. And I suppose you could say, is that intimidation? Is that fair from law enforcement to say that? But they were saying, based on his body language, it seemed a little scary the way he seemed to be staring at her. I thought that was quite interesting. 1441. Another thing that was just for me a general observation, I'm not sure what you guys thought. At the beginning of the interview, and it just felt like throughout, the cops really seem to talk too much. You know, they are there to hear her story, to listen to her story, to get her story. And I think it is tempting because she is somewhat perhaps reserved, somewhat less, I guess, garrulous, to fill that space with their own talking. But it reminds me of the interrogation of Casey Anthony. You sort of hear the cops talking, which allows the person of interest or suspect to kind of take a back seat and be very passive and not have to say very much. And so you really wish that they would just sort of say, okay, what do you know? Tell us the story from the beginning and shut up, right? You're probably going to say the same about me, that I'm talking too much, but unfortunately, we are going to play some of the audio. It really, for me, is very poor. So if you're happy that the audio is good enough, I can shut up. But in large sections of the interrogation, to me, it sounds like very poor quality. So we kind of want to jump to the sections that are clear. I have mentioned that there were 3 interrogations, June 2nd, June 6th, and August the 13th. You kind of had the same thing with Nicole Kessinger, not one interview, but several. What was the other thing? The other thing that was quite curious was her lawyer was present. It's quite amazing that the lawyer was present and he allowed her to talk at length. And you could argue that she was incriminating herself. And at a certain point, it was almost like her lawyer was questioning her. And at one point, the lawyer concedes, saying she can't be precise about certain information, and that's not her fault. So even a lawyer is conceding she's not really providing, let's say, accurate information. And the lawyer talks about the fact that it's looking like she's going to be an accessory. But the part that I think stands out to me is, did that lawyer end up representing her? Like, he was right there in the interrogation cubicle. And I know he was there to start off with. I'm not sure if he was there the second or third time. But my question is, if he was there at the beginning, is he here now? Is he the same lawyer representing her now? And if not, why not? If not, why not? What do you guys think? So, yeah, earbuds. Let's see if the earbuds work. We're going to watch a little bit of it. Let me just get to the right thing. Are you guys doing okay? For those of you who don't know, we'll get to that in a second. For those of you who don't know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:21 actually, 21 minutes past 3. I'm doing this kind of a review of it, but I have also just woken up, so if I'm a little woozy, please bear with me. So we're going to go to, there's a very long opening performance by the defense attorney, and we're not going to listen to all of that. Much of it was actually the judge did agree with some of it. I'm not going to really go into it here. We're going to go straight to So this is the moment where the jury comes in, and notice how Michelle Troconis pops up before anyone else.
There will be long stretches of video. So the court is not going to indicate to the jury that you're about to watch long stretches of video. We will just take our breaks when we take our breaks. Shall we bring the jury in?
Yes, sir.
Have a look.
Yes. Oh, that's gonna break. It's John's asking for this.
Detective, the defendant just indicated to you that Fotis Doulos woke up in her presence and hopped in the shower with her. Is that correct?
I'm going to object to his characterization of what was said. I don't believe that's what I heard, and it's a leading question on top of it.
Well, the video and the audio is able to be seen and heard by the jury. And the question, even though it may not have been a quote, was not misleading, even unless it's the word hopped that offends counsel.
No, it's, I heard that she said she went up to her daughter's room because of the thunder, the rain. I did not hear her say, it's up to the jury, but I didn't hear her say that she woke up with Fotis Doulos.
Well,
and that's not actually what he said. Let's go back and just listen to what the counsel does say.
Detective, the defendant just indicated to you that Fotis Doulos woke up in her presence and hopped in the shower with her. Is that correct?
He said, woke up in her presence. I suppose that's ambiguous. It can mean that she was there, but she was there. She was in the room next door. But also the way the defense attorney characterizes it isn't accurate either. He doesn't say woke up with her. There's a difference between woke up in her presence and woke up with her. But you can see just how anal it can be in a courtroom. One word can be offensive. One word can be unacceptable to a particular side.
Correct?
I'm going to object to his characterization of what was said. I don't believe that's what I heard, and it's a leading question on top of it.
well, the video and the audio is able to be seen and heard by the jury. And the question, even though it may not have been a quote, was not misleading, even unless it's the word hopped that offends counsel.
No, it's, I heard that she said she went up to her daughter's room because of the thunder, the rain. I did not hear her say, it's up to the jury, but I didn't hear her say that she woke up with Fotis Doulos.
Well, the audio is clear. The jury heard the audio. What's going to overrule the objection?
Nor was that my question, incidentally. But, that's what she indicated to you, correct? That Fotis Doulos woke up in her presence and got in the shower with her, correct?
Yes.
Now, how many times did you interview the defendant?
Total of 3 times.
On what dates did you interview the defendant?
This is the first interview, June 2nd, 2019. The second interview occurred June 6th, 2019. And the third interview occurred August 13th, 2019.
Throughout the course of those interviews, did the defendant always maintain that Fotis Doulos had woken up in her presence and gotten in the shower with her?
No.
When was the first time she indicated that that did not happen?
Again, Your Honor, I'm going to object that the video speaks for itself and allow him to editorialize and give opinions about what was said and when is improper. And I object to all of this because the video will speak for itself.
So if I remember correctly, the judge says there's nothing wrong with characterizing what somebody says. There is a problem if you mischaracterize what someone says. And he says there is a little bit of a distortion when you characterize something. But, you know, there's a difference between characterizing something as, let's say, the sun comes up and it's early in the day. Instead of saying morning, you say it was day. That's characterizing the time in a certain way, but certainly not mischaracterizing it. Conversely, if the sun's just gone down and you say it was at night, it might still seem like very early at night, but night wouldn't be necessarily a mischaracterization. Anyway.
Itself, and he's being.
So this is like a really long argy-bargy between the two, and you kind of got a sense that the defense lawyer is really nervous about what is going on here, because it is very damaging to his client, right? So you can see it goes on, and we're gonna pick it up at this point here. I want to go to 1441. Just want to deal with this piece over here.
And we want to bring we want them to know what happened to them. So we're hoping that you can help us find out what happened to Jennifer. All right. We also understand, having learned some things about photos, we understand that he has been described to us as a person who has a very strong personality and might have the tendency to control people and manipulate people. And it's certainly, we believe there's a possibility that he may be doing that to you, and that's how they have been doing that to you. And that's one reason that you guys are physically separated now and you are safe. And we are concerned for your safety if you get out of here and he's out of here. We're worried about what might happen to you. We have no specific information, but we don't want anything bad to happen to you. And I know you don't want anything bad to happen. You have a...
So it could be argued that that is an intimidation tactic. What is also very interesting is at the beginning of the cross-examination of, not the cross-examination, interviewing and this is another retired detective. I think it's at least 3 or 4 now that have retired since this happened. He was asked whether they asked Michelle, do you need an interpreter? And she said no. Whether they felt that there was any language problem, and they said no. He's doing that to head off a possible challenge from the defense, to say she didn't actually understand what was happening. She was manipulated. She was intimidated. All of those things. The fact that she came in for 3 separate interviews actually tells you quite a lot. Amanda Knox, I think, came in for a similar amount, at least 2 that I can remember. And then the question is, does the person of interest tell the same story or not? Funnily enough, that's also something the defense really objected to. Please don't call it a story. And they said, okay, well, we can call it an account. And the word story had actually been mentioned not by the prosecutor, but by the judge. Okay, so we're going to jump ahead to, I wonder if I can play that section where he's asking the retired state detective about the interpreter. Let's just quickly go there.
Thank you.
Detective Kimball, good morning.
Morning, sir.
So just to answer your question, Barry was interviewed, I think, a total of 13 times.
I'm referring to you as Detective Kimball, but you're not in fact Detective Kimball anymore, is that correct?
That is correct.
By whom are you currently employed?
Currently employed by Westport Police Department.
What role do you have at the Westport Police Department?
I'm a police officer on patrol.
How long have you been employed with the Westport Police Department?
Since October 24th of 2022.
And prior to becoming a Westport police officer, you worked for the Connecticut State Police, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And can you just indicate to the jury what year you began working for the Connecticut State Police?
I began 1998 with Connecticut State Police.
Prior to working for the Connecticut State Police, had you worked for any other law enforcement agencies?
Yes. Yes.
And when you arrived at 69 Wells Lane, what did you do?
I met with Officer Tom Patton from the New Canaan Police Department, and I spoke to some of our personnel from the van that were already on scene.
And did you observe anything inside of 69 Wells Lane?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe, sir?
I observed what appeared to be some blood-like stains and on the floor of the garage. I didn't take a close look.
Did you also respond to the New Canaan Police Department that day?
Yes, I did.
Approximately what time?
Probably around, I don't know what time.
Was there a command post at the New Canaan Police Department?
Yes, that's where we established our command post.
And would it be fair to say that there were numerous law enforcement personnel working out of that command post?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, can you explain to the jury as the lead case officer what your responsibilities are?
So I would be responsible for the overall case. That does not mean I do every interview or write every report, but I'm essentially the conduit through which, along with my supervisor, Sergeant Ken Matreska, the information flows, and I would be responsible for the overall investigation of the case.
And when you say you're responsible for where the information flows, is information being relayed to you by law enforcement personnel?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, I did.
Do you know who seized his phone?
That was seized.
Mr. DULOS?
Your Honor, I'm
that there was clothing which was. I want to direct your attention now to the defendant, and specifically at approximately 2:32 in the afternoon on June 2nd. Could you describe her emotional condition for the jury?
She appeared, she did not exhibit that she was overly tired. She appeared in good shape. She did not appear under the influence of anything.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part of that answer.
She did not appear to be under the influence of anything.
When you were, firstly, did you personally speak with the defendant?
Yes.
And did you communicate with the defendant in English or Spanish?
In English.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do not.
Did the defendant ever request the assistance of an interpreter while you were speaking with her?
She did not.
So that is really important. If she had requested an interpreter and it wasn't provided, then there would be a very big case for the defense to say she was manipulated, she was pressured, she misunderstood, she was confused, etc., etc. And it's really important that the prosecutor brings this up because it takes it out of the hands of the defense in a sense. It takes the wind out of their sails.
Did Mr. Bowman ever request that an interpreter be present for the interview?
No.
Now, as far as I remember in the Amanda Knox case, she didn't request an interpreter either, but the law is, I think, different in that situation. She's in a foreign country. Just trying to think how it would be different to Michelle Troconis. Well, maybe it's got to do with the length of time Amanda Knox was in Italy. She wasn't living there. She was a temporary student studying English, as it turned out, and not someone who sort of part of the community and an established part of the community, so but I think that is an interesting legal point to look at.
Did you have any concerns about the defendant's ability to understand the English language as you spoke with her?
No.
By the way, Amanda Knox was reading a Harry Potter book. I'm not sure if she'd read another one in Italian, but she was actually reading one in German at the time, which is interesting. She was quite good at languages.
You indicated that the defendant agreed to participate in an interview. Where did this interview take place?
At the New Canaan Police Department.
Which room at the New Canaan Police Department?
It was in an interview room.
Do you recall what floor of the police department?
I believe it would be the first floor, ground floor.
And when you say an interview room, can you describe that for the jury?
So it was a room, dimensions were approximately, and these are approximate, 12 feet by 18 feet, contained a table, a chair for myself, for Detective Clavi, for the defendant, and for Attorney Bowman. So 4 chairs, and it was monitored by audio and video.
And when you say monitored by audio and video, you mean it was recorded, correct?
Correct.
It wasn't just sort of streamed to another room, closed circuit. It was actually memorialized. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where was the defendant positioned during the interview?
She was seated in a chair next to the table in the, if you come in the door to the far left.
Where was the defendant's attorney, Mr. Bowman, positioned during the interview?
To her left, right next door.
Where were you positioned during the interview?
I was positioned opposite her on the table adjacent to the door.
Were any other state police personnel present for the interview?
Detective Clavi, Corey Clavi.
And where was he positioned during the interview?
He was positioned to my right, in essentially in front of Attorney Bowman.
I want to talk to you now about your mindset going into this interview.
Okay, so before we get to that, does anyone know at what point, I haven't really watched all 6 hours of it, does anyone know where Michelle Troconis breaks down and sobs and is crying? Where does that happen? It seems to me to be towards the end here, but I can't really see. I'm going through it pretty quickly. Anyone already watched it? Does it happen earlier on or later on?
Did you have any concerns for the defendant's safety on June 2nd, 2019?
I'm going to object. His subjective concerns are irrelevant.
I disagree.
Well, the objection is not relevant, counsel.
Well, Your Honor, again, it informs the course of the interview. It informs some of the things that were said, and it informs the defendant's responses to those things.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that.
To my knowledge, that's none of that.
Okay.
Could I have a moment with counsel on this?
So, yes, there's a
problem. So I did that. So obviously I woke up and I was preparing for bed. The alarm sounds. I wake up and I go to our bedroom. I turn off my alarm that is snoozing and I thought this was.
So incidentally, that is a lawyer sitting over there, and you'll see he starts taking an active role in questioning her and in talking.
When I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth and I get into the shower.
There's also a moment where she, I'm not sure if it was that cold, but she requested a blanket, and so she kind of wrapped herself in a blanket. this gentleman doesn't seem to be all that warmly dressed, but apparently it was quite cold in that room.
I don't wet my head usually because usually I take a fast shower to take me going. Floppy jumps into the shower with me.
Just gonna pause it at 14:46:53.
Yeah, so Stephanie says in the video she actually starts sobbing. So that is actually how I first read the article. But I did notice there's somewhere where I think they said you're going to have a court appearance or something, and she's actually lying on the desk. Bear in mind, this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, on June 2nd. It's not like it's early in the morning. She's actually sort of lying on the desk, and you kind of just get the idea that she's emotionally exhausted, right? What did Yvonne say here? Let's just go to that. At the very end of the interrogation, she even falls to her knees before her lawyer. So we'll look at that
Detective, the defendant just indicated
a
to
little
you
bit
that
later.
Fotis Doulos woke up in her presence and hopped in the shower with her. Is that correct?
I'm going to object to his characterization of what was said. I don't believe that's what I heard, and it's a leading question on top of it.
Well, the video and the audio is able to be seen and heard by the jury.
Of May 24th, 2019?
She did not.
Judge, we're going to pick it back up at 14:46:53.
I get out, I shower, before I go usually to the bathroom, I go to pee, I have my period, and I have it, which is weird, I've had it like for more than 9 days. I guess the stress. So that is actually that's the first thing I do, then I shower. I usually put.
So I couldn't really make that out, but it sounded like she said something about having a period and stress. Didn't it sound like that to you guys?
Like light clothes, exercise clothes, leggings, or sweatpants, or a black sweater because it's been cold. I go down. When we go, I ask her what she wants to eat. She says usually it's an omelette with cheese or waffle. The day before, I peeled some oranges and carrots because she was going to take for the school for her.
So if that is true, she's already acknowledging there that she was under huge stress at the time Jennifer Doulos was murdered. And what do you think was causing that stress? What do you think was causing stress for Michelle Troconis? And what kind of stress was it? Was it financial stress? I would say yes. Was it uncertainty about the future? I would say yes. Was it stress about possibly losing their home? I would say yes. Was it stress about money and debts and finances? I would say yes. Was it stress about the business that they were in? Bear in mind, she worked with Fotis. How was that going? Right. So I would say yes to all of those. So she was stressed. And was that something that played into whatever she decided to do? But the fact that she's saying that she was having a period, I guess, related to stress, is in a way voluntarily giving away very important information potentially that she was struggling with the events, the dynamics, the context as it was in late May 2019. Do you guys agree with that?
Project juices for 10 girls. So I go down, she helps me squeeze the oranges in the machine. I put it in.
So just the fact that her boyfriend's going through this really difficult custody hearing. I think there were 300 motions in 2 years. It's expensive, it's draining, it's exhausting, it's did I say expensive? And it's never ending. It's a never ending hell. And so he is stressed, she is stressed. What are you going to do about it?
Big demo that we have, the whole juice. I don't know if her or me, we.
So I don't know if she did. I can't quite hear, but she says stressed and period within a few words of one another.
We have a white cooler. I take the ice from the freezers down. I pour it in the cooler, and I put the demo. Obviously, I didn't close it well, so at the end it spills, but not now. I do the omelette. She eats, and then we go to school. I grab normally the keys in the drawer where the keys are.
What car are you driving to school?
The Cherokee. I work with the Cherokee. Yes.
What time do you leave?
Okay, so there's a little bit of confirmation that she drives the white Jeep Grand Cherokee. Something that I noticed, I'm not going to play it now, but something I noticed in the interview where that I played on Twitter or on X. Just trying to remember what she said during that interview. I think it's about the paper towel and the brown substance and does it smell. She's extremely, certainly in that, you see it's a little bit here. She's quite communicative, quite demonstrative with her hands, and I've already, we've looked at her handwriting. I get the feeling she's quite a creative person, right? And quite an expressive person as well. And I would say in line with that, she's quite an emotional person. The way that she answers some questions, not just the words she uses, but the gestures, the strength of the hand waving is quite, demonstrative. It's quite expressive. And that speaks to me of someone who is obviously emotional during parts of these interviews, but you also kind of get the feeling is emotional in general. And I get the feeling Fotis was as well. Fotis was an emotional dude, a guy with strong emotions. And I get the feeling that she was as well, don't you? That's a good word, yeah.
Usually around in between 7:28 to 7:40 at the most. But that day we were like maybe probably 7:30, 7:35. But again, the neighbors have a camera in their house. You can check exactly. So that's why. Okay. I drive, I do my same circuit to go to the school and every walker.
Okay, thank you.
She goes down.
So I must say what would be very helpful for me is if we can get hold of the transcript. I find that very useful. You can do targeted searches, which words were used. You can look at, to some extent, the timeline. I don't know about you, but I'm only picking up 1 out of every 3 or 4 words. It's, probably if you played it 3, 4, 5 times, you'd pick up a bit more, but it's a little bit garbled for me.
I give give her a kiss. She closes the door and then I'm like, the cooler. So I put the window down and I say, Nicole, the cooler. She said, oh, I almost forgot. She opens the bag and she takes the cooler, the cooler, she goes to the middle to the class or school.
So something that I think is, Timmy, I want to put you down. I'm getting a little, sorry. So what I think is quite interesting here is you have Fotis committing a crime in the morning. And when does the crime start? The moment after dropping the kids off at school, right? And if you think about it, Michelle is almost doing the same thing that Jennifer is. She drops off her daughter at school. And so if you think about it from the perspective of two people possibly in cahoots, right? Fotis and his mistress, then when is the best time theoretically to commit this crime if they're going to be working together? Well, it's when the kids are at school. And the fact that she is a child as well means the best time to do this and get it over and done with is when your child isn't going to be wandering around. And so doesn't much of this crime take place at on the Friday morning? The other thing that I'd be interested to know is where was Nicole Friday evening during these garbage drops? Who was looking after her? What was going on there? Right? Don't you find that quite interesting? You know, if Michelle is involved, then she's got to think about keeping her daughter out of it. And you have exactly the same scenario, potentially. It's not to say that it definitely is the same. You know, we don't know exactly what's going on in the Morphew case, but when does Suzanne Morphew disappear? When her daughters are far from home and no chance of them arriving home out of the blue. Who knows where they are and when they're coming back?
I go back.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that to me it's incredible in the 21st century that we've got to deal with this sort of nonsense. You can't hear what someone's actually saying. It does need an upgrade. Of course, it doesn't help when you're defunding the police, does it?
And usually I arrive around
Stephanie says
8:20. I'm normally in the house. And I arrive, I put my purse in the kitchen like I always do, in the table or in the chair. I go up to the office. I was going to do a coffee. I didn't. I don't remember if I did a coffee. I don't think so. Usually I do coffees every time after dropping cold with, sometimes with coffee, sometimes without.
So if she mentioned that her daughter had a school program, I mean, in theory, it's the ideal day for her to be preoccupied with the devil's work, if I can put it that way. So let's put it another way. If her daughter was going to be back from school at lunchtime, and let's just say for the sake of argument, the normal time, it is a normal day where she would be around, then that would tend to support the notion that Michelle Troconis was A, innocent, and B, hadn't conspired. Do you agree with that? The fact that her daughter's out the way, and on the day that her daughter's out the way, doesn't that suggest that she's complicit in a less indirect way?
Kent, the lawyer is there. They're talking the further. You've been
Just explain, just explain.
They're in the table down the office.
They, Kent and who?
And Voltes.
Kent and Phillips?
Just gonna pause the video at 14:51:03. You indicated that you interviewed the defendant 3 separate times. Did the defendant always maintain her account that Fotis Doulos was in the office?
So, did you hear what he said there? Did she always maintain her account? Now listen to how the defense lawyer mischaracterizes that. Listen to this.
She did not.
Thank you, sir. We'll pick it back up.
Grab my computer.
Oh, sorry, that was somewhere else. That was somewhere else where he didn't like the use of the word story, but that was used by the judge. Anyway, let's continue.
Then I look for Pavlonis.
So I just want to respond to what Helena says there. Actually, that's not what you'd want to do in a situation like that. You don't want mics and cameras that are obvious. First of all, you want to tell, it's kind of a subtle thing. You want to tell your person of interest, your suspect, your interviewee, right? You want to tell them, okay, this is being recorded, but you certainly don't want to remind them of that. You want to try and, first of all, legally you've got to inform them of that, but the between the lines stuff is that you want to make them comfortable enough that you can extract information. And so you want the recording stuff to be kind of out of sight, out of mind.
How do you say? Documents in the house that are supposed to be revealed.
But I also feel what's missing in this sort of thing is you really would want to have high quality cameras that can show the facial expressions, because in the Kate and Armstrong case we had quite good cameras. That was in an Austin police station. A very important moment in that interrogation was when she was presented with information that her vehicle was spotted near the crime scene, and you because you couldn't see her face, you could see that she kind of nodded, and that was really important. That was a really important moment, and that sort of thing can be gold if you just got better freaking recording equipment.
I had to do some changes. I can find it. There's another guy that works for this. I think the day before he was there. I don't know. Yes, but I don't know. I think he made some changes. And then I go down. I grab my phone and there's a message from Aaron, which is Hutch's wife, saying I left my purse because they were that night they had dinner on Thursday night. Aaron, Hutch, Stefan, and Beth wrote, and Fotis Nicolena. In the house outside, we cooked it and we did like a barbecue and a salad. And cooked French fries and meat.
So this is much better from the law enforcement. You can see she's doing all the talking. I must say they get off to a horrible start where I think they are trying to Mirandize her and they've got to fill in documents, but there's far too much talking from them. And anyway, here it's a lot better. The question you've kind of got to be asking is, although we can't see her very clearly on camera, is her effect reasonable? Right? Is her effect reasonable? Is her emotional state reasonable? And it's a little bit of a difficult question because you would want to know, you would want some idea of her baseline. What is she normally like? What kind of person is she? But think about what we're talking about. We're talking about someone in the middle of someone who's been pulled into someone else's divorce nightmare. Someone who, now imagine if you were innocent and you were pulled into that, and that woman, as bad as it is, it gets worse because that woman is now murdered and your partner is now a suspect in her murder. I don't know. I think I would be in tears. You know, if I was in her position, I think I would be crying that like life is so teeth grindingly unfair. And when will this ever stop? And yet what you get from her is she's very matter of factly going through, I did this, I did that, I did that. So I must also say, I've had someone very close to me die suddenly. And it is possible to talk in a matter of fact way for a period of time. But if you're in the same, if you're in that same space for long enough, talking about that person for long enough, you tend to be overwhelmed by those feelings. You must remember what is going on. You remember, you know, what is, you know, the core reality of where you are. And I don't really see that here. Do you? How do you guys? What do you guys think about it? Is her effect normal, reasonable, rational, or is it unusual? Or would you say everyone is different?
I don't remember if I take a salad, Greek salad, I don't know. So I texted and I said I can take the purse because I'm going to the Suburban, so it's on the way. Then I think she said Hatch is going, or he can go. And I said, where should I drop it? And I can go to like your house or to the warehouse. I don't know, I told him my phone, my text, you guys can see. Okay. So I took a picture, I sent it. It was in the high chairs in the corner where the breakfast table is. I grabbed the purse, I grab mine, I get in the car, and I go to the warehouse, which is the Jeep again. The Jeep again. Yes. And what time is this? This probably was like around, if I chatted with her like around 9, it must have probably taken me like 10 minutes to get there.
So right now she's describing what she's doing during the time that Fotis is murdering Jennifer, her rival, and cleaning up that crime scene. And the question is, did she help Fotis clean anything up? And part of the answer to that question is she did do cleaning that day. I guess another question would be, did she clean every day? Was it normal for her to clean that day? What did she clean? Where did she clean? When did she clean?
44, and then I turn where there's a concession car in the
She
corner where the Apple restaurant. You turn, and I go to the Avon self-storage that is owned by Hutch. I go in, I see the secretary. I said, "Oh, I'm coming to leave Aaron's first." I mean, obviously, I jumped she in. She has a desk on the further right, so he stand up, he said hi. I give him the purse, and he said thank you, had a nice time, it was great, and then the police. I give him the car, and I go to the supermarket.
Which supermarket is that?
Stop and Shop.
Okay.
That's the one that is where they have like a Bed Bath and Beyond. There's like a movies. There's a Home Goods.
It's an Avon?
I think that's in
Simsbury?
I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, the times they changed.
Pretty clear.
But I don't know.
Yes.
I have the receipt. I mean, they're probably in my purse. I go in the supermarket. I drop the card, and I mean, I basically went to buy a parsley. So I got 2 parsleys. Because
Did you say she went to buy a car seat?
I was going to make something that Nicole likes. That's cannelloni with spinach. That I had it like a previous week or no, or maybe 3 days before she wanted that. So I had all the ingredients. I just mixed the parsley for the tomato paste. I found a robot.
Now she makes a reference to tomato paste. Obviously, tomato paste is a reddish color. That just seems an odd thing to say, doesn't it?
That was walking, and I found it funny for Nicole. So I took a picture with the robot. I filmed the robot, and I, like in the video, it says, "Look, Nicole, the robot. You ask what you want, or it takes it like a joke."
So I think it's quite an idiosyncratic way of talking. When she says she took a photo of the robot, I think she's talking about a traffic light. Funny enough, in South Africa, we also refer to traffic lights as robots, as though they are some sophisticated mechanism, not just 3 lights that change color. But if you think about it, why is she taking photos of arbitrary things? It's kind of strange, isn't it?
You see our text when I was working, we see a field, a Volkswagen car. I take a picture and I say punch buggy. Because when I took a picture, there's a label, and she obviously zoomed the label in her. It says that, because in the video I said, "Look, Nicole, she takes you wherever you want to pick up the food." But it was like a joke. I really don't know what that robot does. In the, they have
behind the house, beside the house,
yes. Bueno, there's 4 garage in that house.
Sure.
It's like a square, let's say, and the Suburban is parked like parallel to the garage.
What's going on with the Suburban? Is it just parked there?
Yeah.
All right. Where's focus?
In the garage.
So another thing that came up, I can't quite remember where I saw it or heard it, but she initially never mentioned the red Toyota Tacoma. In other words, I think when she speaks here, she doesn't mention that Fotis parked the black Ford Raptor right next to the red Toyota Tacoma. And you may remember we actually saw a picture of that when I said, "What do you see in this picture?" And you guys are talking about the tinted windows and so on. But it was like, well, there's the red Toyota Tacoma right next to the Ford Raptor. And so she apparently only mentioned that, I think, in the second or third interview. That's quite a significant omission.
Yes, the first left garage door is open. I bring the stuff to the kitchen.
What's he doing? You know?
Who voted?
Folks, when you get there.
Oh, looks like I misunderstood the robot. Okay, understand. You've also kind of got to ask, if someone was innocent and they had an alibi, how long would you really need to talk to them? And you can use a couple of cases for reference. Think about Nicole Atkinson. How long did law enforcement talk to her? It's a little bit different because she was a witness of sorts. I'm just trying to think of other people that have been interviewed that were suspects for a period of time and then dismissed. Fleet White, John Fernie, that's in the Ramsey case. But, you know, it does happen in the Madeleine McCann case. For quite a long time, they thought that Robert Murat was a legitimate suspect. So it's not to say that if someone is talking to you a lot that you're guilty. It's not to say.
Nothing. It was like kind of like walking from the kitchen to the garage.
Do you remember what he was wearing?
Jeans. He always wear the same jeans. I think he only has 2 pairs of jeans. And he just recently bought a black pair of jeans, which is weird to see him in black jeans.
So that's kind of a strange statement. Is she throwing him under the bus? Is it misdirection? She says that he recently bought a black pair of jeans. She says it's weird. As far as I know, when he disposed of the garbage, he was actually wearing dark blue jeans. He wasn't wearing those jeans. So is that just like misdirection?
So he was in the black jeans?
No, blue jeans. You asked me the same.
All right, so what about his shirt?
He had a light shirt. I believe it was light blue. At some point he has a sweater.
Okay.
So she says he was wearing a light blue shirt. Well, certainly that night when she was with him, he was wearing a white shirt. Lie detectors are used. Yes, they are. I would be interested to know if she was asked to do a polygraph.
I don't know if you took it, I mean, that part I took it off.
All right, I'm just trying to find out. All right, so he's there, you don't know when he got there, you get there between 2:15 and 2:30, and Phyllis is there.
Well, it can be a little bit till 4:30.
Okay, all right,
let's say to 3, and I say I have to pick up Nicole.
okay, so you have to leave at 3 to pick up Nicole?
Yes, but then I forget, and in my head I'm like, oh no, wait, I don't have to pick her up because she's staying for this Chicago show.
Sorry about that. Just been looking at 2 stories here. Missing New Canaan woman, Norm Padder says Michelle Troconis passed a polygraph test. So there you get a better look at the shirt she was wearing when she was arrested. You can see it's, I don't think that is a Vineyard Vines shirt. Is that the logo for Vineyard Vines? Don't think so. But it is a somewhat similar looking shirt. So I just want to deal with in his latest interview, her lawyer, Norm Pattis, a high-profile and controversial attorney, claimed Michelle Troconis has passed a lie detector test. So do you think the authorities did that lie detector test, or do you think they did it independently? Troconis and her lawyer have met with police and she posted bail. Troconis has passed a polygraph and has an alibi for the morning Jennifer DULOS disappeared. Do you think she does have an alibi? Do you think she does? He says, my understanding is the result of her speaking to the police has ruled her out as a participant in any foul play in New Canaan. And my understanding is she's taken a polygraph exam on the question of whether she had any knowledge of any foul play. She satisfied in that polygraph exam. She satisfied police in that polygraph exam, and she provided an alibi. Okay, and then there's also this. Shows you shouldn't believe everything you hear. Husband's girlfriend, can you guys see that? Husband's girlfriend in Jennifer DULOS case ruled out as a suspect. So the date of this article is June 13. And remember, they were still going to interview her a month later, 2 months later, August 13, 2019. June 13, husband's girlfriend says ruled out as a suspect. Was that true? Okay, let's continue.
I go back to the house with a vacuum and I bring the broom.
To Jefferson?
Yes. And I take the Suburban because the way I park, I don't know, I take the Suburban first. And I go to Fort Jefferson.
This is at 3?
Yes.
Round 3?
Yes.
So at 3 o'clock, you drive the Suburban back to Jefferson to pick up the vacuum?
No, to drop off the vacuum and pick up the broom.
Okay, and then you come back to 80 Mounts Run?
Yes.
All right. How long does it
I
take?
drink water in the house.
So isn't that really significant? If I heard correctly, she's saying that in the afternoon she was driving the Chevy Suburban. Did I hear that correctly? I mean, the Chevy Suburban is Jennifer's vehicle. Did I hear that correctly?
And he just recently bought a black pair of jeans, which is weird to see him in black jeans.
So he was in the black jeans?
No, blue jeans. You asked me the same.
All right, so what about his shirt?
He had a light shirt. I believe it was light blue. At some point he has a sweater.
Okay.
But I don't know if you took it, I mean, that part I took it off and hide it.
All right, I'm just trying to find out. All right, so he's there, you don't know when he got there. You get there between 2:15 and 2:30, and Photos is there.
Well, it can be a little bit till 4:30.
Okay, all right, well,
Let's say 2 to 3, and I say I have to pick up and go.
okay, so you have to leave at 3 to pick up the call?
Yes, but then I forget, and in my head I'm like, oh no, wait, I don't have to pick her up because she's staying for this Chicago show. I go back to the house with a vacuum and I bring the broom.
To Jefferson?
Yes, and I take the Suburban because the way I park, I don't know, I take the Suburban first and I go to Fort Jefferson.
Okay, so if someone was saying that they're two Suburbans, one is his, one is Jennifer's, we do know that those license plates came from I think 2007 Chevy Suburban. So quite an old Chevy Suburban. If we add that vehicle, we've now got 7 vehicles, I believe. There seem to be 7 vehicles in the story so far.
This is at 3?
Yes,
Round 3?
yes.
So at 3 o'clock, you drive the Suburban back to Jefferson to pick up the vacuum?
No, to drop off the vacuum and pick up the broom.
Okay, and then you come back to 80 miles per hour?
Yes.
All right.
So what is happening right now, if you think about it, you kind of have a parallel to, at a certain point, Michelle and Fotis sat down together and they made a list of schedules and appointments and little details of what they did on Friday, right? And Saturday. And is it any surprise to Michelle that she's sitting where she's sitting and she's now being asked to do exactly what they planned? In other words, they did their homework, which is we are probably going to be asked where we were on Friday. And so you were there, I was there, you know that I was there, I know that you were there based on this kind of formula. And so, yeah, lo and behold, a couple of days later, she's asked, tell us exactly where you were. Now she's providing this version of events, but they then going to check it, right? They're going to go to the supermarket's closed circuit TV. They're going to perhaps check with a school camera. They're going to try and verify all of these things. Oh, did you buy something? Let's get the receipt. What's the time on the receipt? And when you verify it, well, things don't quite add up. So it's not quite as easy as just lying about it and being one another's alibi. And what that seems to show is some people think that talk is cheap. If you just tell someone a lie, that's enough and can get away with it. In a situation like this, when someone is murdered, someone's going to take down your statement and then go and check whether it's true. When it's not true, then they're going to come back to you and say, okay, that wasn't true. Let's get the real statement, which is why she's got to come back 3 times. I can't help thinking, imagine if at this point, one of the officers had said, don't you want me to give you your script? Don't you want to read from your script? Here it is. How would she have reacted to that?
How long is it
I
taking?
drink water in the house.
That's okay. How long is the travel time between?
No, nothing, like 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
It's very close. I mean, I've done everything. Anytime.
All right. All right. So you're back.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's also a rental vehicle. Doesn't that mean there are 8 vehicles in the story?
Back now at 80 miles sprint. And what's Fotis doing? Inside the house or outside?
No, he was, I think, talking on the phone out in the where the cars are.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
Who's he talking to, you know?
No.
All right. Okay.
Then, but I stayed a little bit, so I probably went to that to 80 mountains. I should have gotten there back. Maybe like 3:40. 4.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't leave right away. I stayed in the house a little bit. I remember drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was talking in the home with someone.
All right, so you come back. And what do you start cleaning? You continue to clean?
No. I kind of gave up with that because the house is too big on my end. You have to bring somewhere. We used to bring Lupita, which was pretty on high. And she stopped, and then Renata, which is the one that we have now, she has helped in the past, and she actually went to clean Friday. She was there this Friday, two days ago, because she went to the house, she would clean the sheets, and then Potti said go to 80 Mountains and clean.
Did I hear correctly there? Clean the sheets. Did she say clean the sheets? 244.
Then she stopped, and then Renata, which is the one that we have now, she has helped in the past, and she actually went to clean Friday. She was there this Friday, two days ago, because she went to the house, she would clean the sheets, and then Potti said go to 80 Mountains and clean. So,
can I ask why you didn't have to pick up the phone? Did she go?
Because she stayed home and completely forgot she had a.
Okay, so look at the body language there. Now she's folding her arms. I can't quite make out the question that was asked, but have you noticed the change in body language? 1 minute she was leaning forward, hands on the table, apparently like playing open cards, engaged. Now she's sitting back, arms folded. Let's try and hear what the question is that elicits this response.
All right, so you come back. And what do you start cleaning? You continue to clean?
No. I kind of gave up with that because the house is too big on my end. You have to bring somewhere. We used to bring Lupita, which was pretty on high. And she stopped, and then Renata, which is the one that we have now, she has helped in the past, and she actually went to clean Friday. She was there this Friday, two days ago, because she went to the house, she would clean the sheets, and then Potti said go to 80 Mountains and clean. So,
can I ask why you didn't have to pick up the phone? Did she go?
Because she stayed home and completely forgot she had a.
So I'm sorry, I couldn't catch really any of that. He said something about, can I ask something? Couldn't really hear that. Could you?
School show called Chicago.
Okay.
I mean, they are talking about cleaning. Stephanie says, did he ask to do an emergency clean? But yeah, it's an interesting subject matter for what's going on elsewhere that Friday.
Yes, I mean, got paid from the school, not professional.
Okay, so.
And that was like a 7 per play.
Okay. So you can continue.
So
now she's back to leaning forward. She's got both hands on the table. Sorry, where am I? But she's kind of got her hands clasped in front of her like that. And she's in this moment, she's actually mirroring the officer's body language. He's leaning forward. He's got his hands there. She's kind of similar with her head tilted to the side.
there Pavel arrives.
We're at 80 Mountain.
Yes.
Okay. And you think it's what time?
For something.
Okay. What did you go out to Hitchcock? You're going to go to Hitchcock.
So this is quite interesting. Yeah, her own lawyer is trying to make sense of what she's saying. Her own lawyer is saying, okay, you said that, and then that happened at that time. And although he's not interrogating her, he's just trying to get clarity on what she's saying.
That's at 5:17.
That's after this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, go ahead. Pavel arrives?
Yes.
Okay.
With the pickup.
With the Raptor at 4 o'clock?
More or less. I mean, 4:30, 4:15, that I don't know. I think I talked.
Okay, so someone asked, is closed captions available? I can put that on. By the way, actually, oh, it's unavailable. That's strange. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, no ads. I did buy a premium subscription. Thanks for the super chats that allowed all of us to benefit from that. Thanks, guys.
Talk to my dad at some point in between those times.
Is Pavel alone?
Yes, he's alone in the Raptor. That's why I know he had the Raptor. And then I said, you know, I have to go because I have to pick up my rocks in Canada.
Okay, Timmy, I'm going to put you down. Sorry, doggy. So I think what's worth noting is, in the same way that we're sitting here and a lot of this is garbled, they're sitting in court watching long sections of this at a time. And you basically, I think the gambit from the prosecution is to basically communicate the overall sense of, is she credible? Is she, even though you can't tell exactly what she's saying, you are getting a kind of a sense of how long the question goes on for, and is there a rapport being developed? Is what she's saying helping law enforcement, or is it creating all sorts of rabbit holes? And then there are a couple of highlights that the prosecutor will pause. I do think it's I don't know if there is a transcript, but I do think it's unfortunate that, like, if this was a movie, you would have subtitles, you would have, right? And there's a nice big space underneath to put text, right? And I do think if you spent enough time on this, you could have someone provide that. I think it's incredible waste of the court's time, the jury's attention, to play something that is mostly unintelligible. I would say it is mostly unintelligible, like 60% you can't make out what is being said. Anyway, let's try and move forward to where something is observed. Let's go just to over here.
Well, you just indicated that there were over 30 stops. Were you referring to the Raptor?
I was, yes.
Okay. Was that information accurate?
It was not.
Are you familiar, well, firstly, Detective, in your experience, have you taken any interrogation courses?
Yes.
All right.
So did you guys catch that? I'm not sure if I cut it off. He asked the retired state trooper, was it accurate that there were 30 disposal stops, and he said it wasn't, right? Did you guys catch that?
And are you familiar with something known as a ruse?
Yes.
All right. What is a ruse?
Ruse is presenting false information to a subject.
Intentionally, correct?
Intentionally.
All right. Was this an intentional ruse?
It was not, no.
Okay. Why did you indicate that there have been 30 stops of the Raptor?
The 30 stop information was the information I had been given at the time. It turned out later to be inaccurate.
Thank you, sir. Take it back up.
Because I must say, I also thought if there had been 30 stops, there couldn't be an innocent explanation that you were on your phone and you just went along with it. And now it turns out there weren't 30 stops. There were, well, the stops that you saw.
What?
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. Over 30 stops of that car, of that vehicle. That. You know, check that out.
So can you see showing her the CCTV screen grabs? It's on paper of the stops, and they're about to confront her with the fact that she was there, and she's going to talk about the gum.
Okay. This is just some of what's going on. So. Yeah, just I want, yeah, right. Is that Otis? Who was that? Is that Otis? Is that?
Pausing the video at 15:41:58. Detective Kimball, can you just indicate to the jury what you're showing the defendant at this point?
I am showing the defendant full-size screenshots from the C4 surveillance of the Raptor and of photos DULOS outside the Raptor.
Thank you, sir.
Is that the Raptor that you were? I don't have it here, but you're actually leaning out at one point.
Yeah.
The car.
No, I told him. I mean, I had a chewing gum. I took it, I spit it,
Okay.
and my hand got sticky, and I went like this, and like this to clean it.
Can we go back to the?
So I have to say that was really expressive. She didn't just say that I think she said she spat the gum into her hand, and then her hand got sticky, and so she wiped it off. Another possibility is she got something else sticky on her hand that was really disgusting. It wasn't her own body fluids, and felt repelled, appalled by it, and did what she did. It's really amazing that she actually demonstrates right there in front of them, putting her hand on the floor there. That's why I say she's a very expressive person.
The first dumpster where the construction site was there any businesses or buildings that stand out in your mind that were near that dumpster?
I was on the phone talking to Beck and my friend.
But it was somewhere between your house and the Starbucks was the first dumpster where he threw a bag out.
No, it was in this place.
Okay, so do you notice her body language here? It is very different. She's now just seen evidence that potentially incriminates her, and doesn't she suddenly look like the wind has been taken out of her sails? She is doing that. She looks kind of forlorn. She looks weary. So this is a different body language as well. That's why I say she's a very expressive person. Look at the hand over here that is sort of grabbing onto the side of the desk as well.
What was on the way? That's what he's asking.
On the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then she sits back and folds her arms. This is obviously something that is making her very uncomfortable, understandably.
Before you stopped for coffee, he was already stopping west Harvard, you throwing things out the dumpsters.
Yes, and then we went to Starbucks after.
Then you went to Starbucks, okay, and then, okay, so, did it seem strange to you?
So again, very close body language. Look how she's got, and this is the first time I think we're seeing it. She's got both her elbows in front of her, and it's kind of forming a shield in terms of the questioning from this officer. He's also got his arms folded at this point. You get the feeling that he's not terribly impressed with with her story, right? Something else that's just interesting intertextually in a kind of a disgusting way. What you seem to have here is that Fotis and Michelle dispose of evidence of a murder. There might be a bloody T-shirt among all of that, but someone who's been murdered earlier that day, items covered in her blood, has just been thrown away, and from there they go to Starbucks. In the Patrick Frazee case, Crystal Kenny spent several hours mopping up, cleaning up a crime scene. She filled up about 5 or 6 garbage bags with blood-spattered toys, towels, etc., and then went straight from there to a Sonic Burger and got food for herself, Patrick Frazee, and I think his daughter. It just kind of gives you a sense of someone being completely psychopathic in a sense. You've just done that, and now I've worked up an appetite, need to eat something.
30 socks.
That would be stop 30 times. I mean, that's counting red lights or turns. That sounds strange.
Were there how much garbage holes in the back of the Raptor?
I don't know. I wasn't looking. I was on the phone. I was probably talking to Beto, my friend Beto, because she's about to take the plane. And she actually said, well, I'm getting on the plane, so bye.
Did you ask for this? What
I'm like, can we go? I'm like, yes, I want to go. Let's go to Starbucks. He said, yes, wait.
That just seemed, it doesn't seem, knowing what I know about Fotis, doesn't seem like an area that I would expect him to be driving around.
No, I've never driven there.
Okay. So you agree with that?
I don't even know.
You thought it was strange that he was in that area?
Yes, but because we've done that other times to throw garbage.
Right, but in an area you called creepy, I mean, is that where?
Well, because I've never been in that area. Like my furthest I went.
So there have been other times where you've been with Fotis where you stopped at multiple garbage receptacles and thrown trash in them?
Yeah, but a long time ago. Not in that area.
So again, I mean, it's just helping us get to know Michelle. Bear in mind, we've seen very few interviews, if any, of her. You very seldom hear her talking or saying anything. I just want to show you that moment where she flips up her hand, kind of like that. It gives you a little bit of a sense of the kind of person that she is. As we said before, she's passionate. She's demonstrative. She expresses herself, right? Just have a look at the way that someone talks, how can I put it? There's a good word for it. The pacing of words gives you a sense of how somebody thinks and talks, but also the way someone expresses themselves with their body and with their hands, and even the way they move. If someone walks in a certain direction and then stops and changes direction, oh, I forgot that, may show that they're scatterbrained, that they're nervous, that they don't have like a constant calm energy. They kind of more of a jumpy, jerky personality, right? And you know, it speaks to some extent. You don't want to read too much into it, just to get a feel of, you know, someone's stability. Are you emotionally stable and calm, or are you liable to be triggered and to be what's the word, upset, emotional, right? And but just look at this flick of her hand when she talks about something. Let's don't want to go back too far. So we at 302:37. It's about here.
My furthest I went.
So there have been other times where you've been with photos where you stopped at multiple garbage receptacles and thrown trash in them?
Yeah, pero a long time
There
ago.
it is. There it is. Did you catch that? She says a long time ago, and she kind of does that. It's quite a aggressive gesture if you think about it. You could say a long time ago in a fairly calm way. She kind of throws her hand over her shoulder.
Like that area. And then we go back to, and that's when we start.
Yeah, I think that is a good word to describe a vocal style, one's cadence. If you speak very quickly, if you self-interrupt, if you and ah, I must say, often when I'm speaking like I am now live on YouTube, I'm very aware that if you make certain absolute statements, you can really get into trouble. So I sort of feel like you really got to think about what you're saying, because it's easy to make a statement that's generally true, but legally may not be true. And that means you've got to think carefully about what you're saying. It's easy to talk in a passionate, convincing, compelling way that's interesting and entertaining, but it's actually legally how can I put it? It's legally fraught, put it that way.
In Starbucks after drawing them back. We go to Starbucks. I go to the bathroom because I got my period. And I ask for a Java chip. I ask for a croissant, a chocolate croissant, and they say we don't have it because usually we have in the morning.
Right.
So they didn't have. And so I get a sandwich, ham and cheese or turkey and cheese sandwich.
While you're getting the sandwich, is all the garbage already thrown out?
Yes.
Can I go back to when Pavel arrives at the house with the Raptor? Did you notice anything inside the vehicle? Did you notice anything inside the Raptor?
Do you see what he's driving at there? He says, what did you see next to the Raptor when it was parked at their home? How does she answer?
I didn't go.
Was the Raptor flatbed, was the back end covered with anything that you noticed?
No, but I didn't see anything. I wasn't paying attention.
How long was Pavel and Fotis together at 80 Mountain?
So I must say that really stands out to me. Sorry, I just find it really silly. So we've spent how long hearing about ham sandwiches, and I went to Starbucks and I spat gum into my hand because it was whatever, and then I did that. And all of these details. Then when it comes to the Ford Raptor, no, I wasn't paying attention. But you were paying attention to everything else. And that is something that I've always felt quite strongly about in the John Benet Ramsey case. These are parents that are very detailed. They pay so much attention to detail. And then every now and then, when there's a issue, then they don't recall. It's a really interesting juxtaposition. You look at the level of detail in something that is of no consequence, incredible detail. And then, oh, sorry, I just can't remember that at all. Oh, okay.
After Pavel arrived in the Raptor, how long do you think they were together? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
This is very important.
No, but it could be. Pavel must have been there maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes, nothing.
And then he left.
He left
What did he leave with?
with the Raptor.
With the Raptor.
Yes,
And then Fotis followed him.
yes, and I heard the Cherokee.
As far as you know, they went back to Jefferson.
Yes.
Are you still in there, correct?
When I came back from not going to the house, yes.
So again, it's not easy to make complete sense of what they're saying, but it sounds like somebody drives away and then Fotis drives after that person and then she drives after them, like 3 cars going somewhere. Even in her own account, there's something strange going on. Lots of vehicles doing funny things.
They were in Fort Jefferson.
So how long was it between the time you left and came back to Fort Jefferson and you saw Pavel and Fotis there?
10.
So Pavel is now part of the story. Remember, just Pavel's vehicle that was part of the disposal. And it appears that Pavel was, how can I put it, a innocent accessory, if I can put it that way. And then the question is, was Michelle an innocent accessory? What you're seeing here is her own lawyer struggling to understand what she's talking about. Her own lawyer, who's sitting over there, is asking her questions for clarity because he's struggling to understand it himself. Not a good look.
Minutes, 11 minutes, not that long. 15 minutes at the most, which I think is too much.
So Pavel was at the house with Fotis on 80 Mountain for 10 minutes. They leave. And then how long until you see them again? What's the time frame before you go back? Is it a while? Is it not a while? Is it 5 minutes?
Wait, can you repeat?
Yes. So Pavel arrives.
So Pavel Gumeni owns the kind of old battered red Toyota Tacoma. They tell him to, or Fotis told him to remove the seats and to put the Porsche seats in the place of those seats. And I'm not sure what ultimately happened, if they did use Porsche seats or Ford seats, but that was what they wanted to do. And he did say he found a lot of what he was told about this to be quite strange.
He's at the house on 80 Mountain for about 10 minutes, correct?
He arrives with the Raptor.
Yes.
Remember, I said him.
He's not there for long.
Yes, it is done
He
deliberately.
was already leaving, I mean, he came from the Canaan.
Pavel came from the Canaan?
Yes.
What was he doing in the Canaan?
He's the one who takes care of the house that they're building down there. He's the one who looks at it every day.
What house in the Canaan does he take care of?
Or he'll take care, it's a house that they're doing construction.
Do you know the address?
I always hear 61 Sturbridge. I've been in that.
Sturbridge.
Yes.
I think it was the same guys.
Wait a moment, wait. That's what they told me.
That's what they told me.
See him, I don't know.
That's what you're telling us the day before.
I don't wanna say things
It's
that.
not whose day, it's on.
Well, I mean, Fotis and Pavel, they always thought that Pavel goes to New Canaan.
Okay.
Unless
No.
it's right.
Okay. So how long was it between the time you left 80 Mountain and Fotis and Pavel were there, and you started out for Canton, and then you turned around and went to 4?
No, we all left. We all left like at the same time.
Okay.
It's not like I stayed longer or he stayed on.
Okay, you all left, and then when you drove back to your home where you live, which is 4 Jefferson. Okay, when you arrived back there, now Fotis and Pavel were at 4 Jefferson.
Yes.
Okay.
So Pavel and Fotis left Mountain at the same time we did.
Yes.
So it's quite remarkable. She is in a situation, she's in a room with 3 men, and all 3 of them are really questioning her, and she seems to hold her own quite well. She seems to be on her toes. She seems to know how to answer. Well, she thinks she seems to know how to answer. But the thing that I think is missing here is, I think an innocent woman would be, the average innocent woman would feel horrible in that situation. They would feel helpless, hopeless. It's like, my boyfriend has been in this horrible divorce for so long, and now look at what has happened, and now I'm being questioned, and when is this all going to end? And although she does seem kind of worn out and kind of weary, I would imagine someone starting to just feel totally overwhelmed with frustration. Feeling just life is so unfair that this is happening. This guy that I love is now caught up in something even worse than what the divorce was, etc., etc. And she seems fairly nonchalant, doesn't she? Ask her a question, and she's quite expressive with her arms giving the answer. Is this the appropriate emotion, the appropriate effect, given the situation that she's in?
Just confirming a couple things. When you went to the school to drop your daughter off, where did you drop her off? At the school.
Where?
Yeah, like is there?
So what's just happened is the officers left the cubicle. I don't know if you noticed, he was away for quite a while, and it's possible that he went for a bathroom break. It's also possible that when he went out, someone outside the cubicle who's watching this, who's been listening, has taken notes and has raised a couple of questions here, there, and there. And that's the part, again, that someone in the situation wouldn't necessarily be aware of. As I said, it's quite subtle. They are telling a story, and as far as they are concerned, they may be winning the narrative battle, where they're convincing the people, the person that's in front of them, the person that's to the side of them, they're telling a story that in real time and one-on-one might be pretty convincing. But if you've got an audience of perhaps several officers doing statement analysis, she's actually totally outnumbered by the amount of people who are trying to figure out what's really going on. Bear in mind, they're collecting evidence elsewhere. They've got surveillance photos. And that is what was happening with Chris Watts as well. When Chris Watts was being interrogated, he wasn't just being interrogated by Tammy Lee. He wasn't just being questioned by Agent Coda. There were people watching, and they were looking at the information saying, hey, phone that person, find out about that. Hey, let's get the GPS from there. Bring me the information from that file. Then when the person steps out the room, they can give them some of that detail, even brief them and say, ask questions about this. And it's in that way that law enforcement can tactically and strategically outsmart someone who is, leading them down the garden path.
Main driveway.
Yeah, it's a circle, there's like the main building, and I always keep her in the same corner.
Corner of the building?
It's like a roundabout. This is the main building, the middle school, and the theater. It's called.
Like an L?
It's a curve.
Okay, it's an arc. Okay.
It's an arch, and I leave her there. She walks. I see her when she gets in. That she puts her ID, and then she goes.
Okay. Did you get out of the car, or did you just let her out of the car?
No.
Because you were driving the Cherokee.
Yes.
And what was Cole wearing? She had a backpack.
Yes, it's her backpack and the cooler with the juice that she pulls.
Is that like a small little, like a thermal lunch? Is it a big cooler that she holds, or is it one with a shoulder strap?
The shoulder strap.
So Nicole had backpack and.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to listen to another 5 minutes or so. I see we passed the 2-hour mark. Then we're going to jump to the very end, which is the part where she starts crying in court and apparently goes down on her knee in front of her lawyer. So we want to end with that. So we'll probably be another 15 to 20 minutes. I just want to end off with this part of the session. The adjournment is not far from here. It is at it's about 5 minutes from here, and then we're going to jump to that moment at the end where she's crying. Okay.
The cooler, which is my cooler from Miami that I used to have when I had the boat, and I would take it to the beach. It's a white cooler. It's in the house. It's not hard. It's soft. You can put it like a bag.
And when you went to Starbucks, you guys looked at the drive-through?
So do you see what's just happened there? The one officer went out, came back. He's had a break. He's been able to refresh a little bit. He's been able to consult with other officers, right? And now she's being questioned by someone who's fresh. He's had a bit of a break, and now the other officer goes out, and now he's doing the same thing. He's gonna get just a bit of a refresh himself, get some fresh air, get a bit of an energy boost, perhaps even eat something, speak to someone who might say, you really need to hit her on this. You need to hammer these points. We need to know the answer to X, Y, and Z. And it's in this way that she's very completely outgunned in terms of being outthought by more minds than just one or two around her.
Or
No, we park.
Park and go inside.
No, she gets no break.
This is the Starbucks in West Hartford?
Yes. Well, I guess I don't know exactly.
Are you sure? Whether it's.
But I know which one it is for sure because it's the one that I used to go when we go.
And that's near Marshalls?
There's a Marshalls, there's like a light, there's in the other side of the street. It has a big parking lot. There's a gas station in front, and there's like a fire department nearby.
Like right nearby or just
I think it's
like right next to it?
actually in front of it.
She does. Those are water bottles. So there is water.
Okay.
But I remember only seeing when I passed there because the teacher.
She's actually going to take a drink of water right now.
The teacher that Nicole used to take French is a little bit further. There's a stop. There's the fire building. That's my reference. And then there's a stop light. I turn and then I turn right, and it's one of those houses that the teacher lives in. So this has nothing to do with.
I don't want to cover too much for that here. Switching gears briefly for a second, how was Fotis and Jennifer's relationship?
Okay, I never met her. I haven't
met Jennifer?
No. The only time I've seen her in my life was like a.
Okay. Do you guys remember when we did the Sermon on the Porch analysis? I said to you, it's very interesting that he uses the word in my life and in my lifetime. These very global references. So in the same way that he's thinking about it in life and death terms, when he says, what is your relationship like with your children, for example? Then he talks about my children are my life. He's thinking about it in life and death terms. In the same way over here, she's asked a very good question. What do you know about Fotis's relationship with Jennifer? And then she says, I've only ever seen her once in my life, or something like that. It's a very global way of thinking about it. Remember, this is quite early on. At this point, they thought that she may just be missing. Well, some people in the public speculated that she might be missing, that she may have run away. Fotis was saying that they'd been set up, that it was made to look like something, and she was actually still alive. Yeah, she's saying, I'd only ever seen her once in my life. And I'm just saying it's a similar global reference, which suggests that she did have knowledge that she was no longer alive. Do you guys see that?
A year ago, Fotis had supervised visitation, and the judge let him take the kids to the pond where we usually sleep. Obviously, I couldn't be there. Nicole is in Argentina every summer. She goes from June to September.
Okay, so we will look at 557 before we are done here. Thanks for that.
So Fotis calls me and says, "Don't come yet because the kids haven't left." So I park outside the A1, the pond. No, when the entrance to the pond.
Right, it's right by
gravel.
right by Hutch's.
Yes, it's a gravel. I don't know what I didn't tell you. That I went to the pond on Friday to see if I could ski, and there was no one. And then I came back. I went, I didn't see anyone.
When did you go?
When you guys say 557, do you mean 1557?
It was after. We wrote it down.
So now the other officer's back. Over there, you see him actually looking at his phone. Do you think he just went for a bathroom break?
I'll show you a picture on my phone. Okay. Okay. Is that you, Michelle? Here's that photos.
Yes,
Okay.
that's me.
Do you know what you're doing there?
Yes, I'm cleaning my face
What are you cleaning the ground for?
because I put my gum and I threw it and it was sticky.
Fotis comes and takes something from you, and he throws it in the sewer. What was that? We see it on the video.
But he doesn't take anything.
Well, he does, because we see it happen. And we have, and we retrieve what's from the sewer. So I'm just gonna tell you right now, starting from the morning, there's some stuff that we know that you're not being honest about. Okay, so let's cooperation and telling the truth is what we're talking about here. Okay? And seriously, you know some of the stuff we talked about before.
Do you notice her response? Most people, if you said that, even if you were lying, most people would say, no, what are you talking about? I've told you everything that I know. Here he says, you're not being honest, and she simply is resigned to that. She's just got her hand. She doesn't respond at all. She doesn't nod. She doesn't deny it, right? She just seems to be thinking, really. I don't know whether the officer is right when he says, we saw you hand him something. I don't know if they noticed that he'd folded, he had the license plate in his hand and then threw that down the side. But what is interesting is at the same time that Michelle is crouched over very close to the drain, and maybe that was done on purpose. Maybe she's crouched over to conceal line of sight of him slipping that in. And there's just maybe blind luck that the camera angle managed to capture that that subtle depositing of the license plates into the grate. It was just really fortunate that you could see it from that angle, because from the other angle, the door and her being where she was would prevent you from seeing that.
Started to trust it. Some stuff that was located at the scene. So some of the stuff you're telling us about Fotis in the morning, I don't believe to be true. Okay.
That's also possible.
It's
It's possible.
I'll show you right now. All right, this man said it. So after you throw out the garbage, this gentleman comes up to the garbage can and pulls that out. What does that look like to you? What's the red stuff?
Blood.
That's blood. That's Jennifer's blood. And that's a pillow from her garage that's missing.
So that is almost the biggest reaction we've seen from her. He says Jennifer's blood, and you hear an audible gasp.
You need to start being honest with us.
No, I don't know anything about that.
About where Fotis was in the morning.
Okay.
I'm going to pause the video at 15:56:37. Detective Kimball, you heard Detective Clabby speaking with the defendant just now on video. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What was he showing her on his phone?
Do you think Michelle needed that part where she's talking translated?
Sure. Two things, which.
The second time.
Okay, the second thing, what he was showing was a screenshot from C4 surveillance of a gentleman holding up an object which appeared to have a red stain on it that he had extracted or taken out of a garbage can on Albany Avenue.
Detective Clabby indicated that that was a pillow from Jennifer's garage. Did you ever verify that?
We did not.
That was never recovered, correct?
Correct.
And similarly, that Jennifer's blood was on it, that was also never verified, correct?
That is correct.
Would this be an example of a ruse detective?
It would be, yes.
Okay, so that's quite interesting. That was not true, although it was generally true. I mean, they did subsequently find items with her blood on it. So although that specific thing wasn't true, other things were. They would find her blood, etc. It is interesting that the police do this. You can call it a ruse, you can call it whatever you like, but they are dishonest in the way that they can get someone else who's potentially dishonest or obfuscating to reveal the truth. It's a tactic.
Continue on.
Well, this is probably a good time for a natural break. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our lunch and recess until 2 o'clock. Please do.
He's asked you different.
No, I didn't see his face.
So,
I mean, I don't remember.
but it just showed us kind of where he was coming from. We can't read his mind, but we're actually not too bad at reading people in general. And his also behavior to you was overly concerned. Because you know how you were in the separate rooms. You know, when you were photographed.
Yes.
There's a room here, there's a room here.
Yes.
Whenever you would speak, Lotus had to know what was going on. Are you okay? Are you okay? I asked Lotus, all right, let's get through this so we can get you guys out. It's like all concern for her.
I didn't hear
Or yeah, that's what we're telling you. The point is that he's overly concerned.
Okay.
Because you were breaking down. You've had well, we understand.
What are we doing here?
So what that shows us is he was concerned about what you were going to say or do.
Okay.
Because of stuff that we think that you know.
Okay.
That's what we're getting at.
Okay.
When you came here, when you were under arrest or when you were in custody, having your prints taken, then when you came here last night, you were a shambles. You were shambles. You were in tears. You were very upset. You were hunched over.
So that is quite interesting. They are actually they are pointing out the difference in her demeanor. Originally, they describe her as being in a shambles, in tears, very emotional. Yeah, seems very together. It reminds me a little bit of Patsy Ramsey. Patsy was extremely emotional when police arrived, extremely emotional over the phone when she called 911. But when she was interviewed, she was very together, very, I wouldn't say unemotional, but not particularly emotional.
Really, nothing that you told us today is an indication. Why would you be so upset if it was only what you told us today?
Why I'm upset? Because I'm upset about the whole situation. I'm like, why? I mean, why it's me that is happening this when I have.
So that's believable. You know, an innocent woman in the situation would be upset, but why? The context remains. If anything, it's getting worse. They are suspecting her. Now, if you were innocent and someone showed you a screen grab of you putting your hand out there, I don't know, I think if I was a woman, I'd burst into tears. I'd be like, I can't believe this is happening. It's, I didn't do this, and this is what you guys are thinking. And where's our concern about photos? Think about that. Where's her concern about what is going to happen to photos? She's very concerned about herself by the way she's answering these questions.
I haven't done anything, and I'm like so innocent, and I'm like being
We're not saying
charged.
that. Did anything that you think that you know something? And it may not be something you know in this part of your head, maybe something that you feel in the back of your head as far as what happened to Jennifer.
So just to be clear, we've jumped ahead 2 hours right? And I'm not quite sure what the entire length of this was, but it was somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. Near the end, near the conclusion of this interview, are the police convinced? Are the police, at the end of her sharing this narrative, has she succeeded in changing hearts and minds? Well, listen to what they're saying.
Well, I'm scared. I mean, if you say that.
Are you concerned that maybe she's something bad happened to her? Okay, that's good. I mean, we all are, I think. Where do you
But
think?
now that you told me that he caught
I'm saying maybe.
that he caught them in pieces in the bags, I'm more worried.
We don't know what was in those bags, right? I mean,
But
you're telling us that.
No, you said it before.
The bags.
Okay. But I heard that you said that you might think that there's pieces of Jennifer.
We are concerned that that's the case. We
Okay,
certainly,
that's why I'm saying
yeah.
what you're saying.
We want to find Jennifer.
Okay.
Did you catch that? She says pieces of Jennifer in the bathroom.
Okay, that's good. I mean, we all are, I think. Where do you
But
think?
now that you told me that he caught
I'm saying maybe.
that he caught them in pieces in the bags, I'm more worried.
We don't.
She said, he cut pieces of her in the bathroom. Let me go back to that.
Okay, that's good. I mean, we all are, I think. Where do you
But
think?
now that you told me that he caught
I'm saying maybe.
that he caught them in pieces in the bags, I'm more worried.
We don't know what was in those bags, right? I mean,
But
you're telling us that.
No, you said it before.
The bags.
Okay. But I heard that you said that you might think that there's pieces of Jennifer.
We are concerned that that's the case. We
Okay,
certainly,
that's why I'm saying
yeah. So
what you're saying.
we want to find Jennifer.
Okay.
We want to find her for her family. We want to find out what happened to her, even if it's bad. All right? Are we going to find her if it's something? And it may not be something you know in this part of your head, maybe something that you feel in the back of your head as far as what happened to Jennifer. So,
Well, I'm scared. I mean, if you say that.
are you concerned that maybe she's something bad happened to her? Okay, that's good. I mean, we all are, I think. Where do you
But
think?
now that you told me that he caught
I'm saying maybe.
that he caught them in pieces in the bags, I'm more worried.
We don't know what was in those bags, right? I mean,
But
you're telling us that.
No, you said it before.
The bags.
Okay. But I heard that you said that you might think that there's pieces of Jennifer.
We are concerned that that's the case.
So I must say the way that she says this just seems very matter of fact. She seemed to be more shocked by the fact that, which turned out not to be true, that they'd found traces of her blood. Do you remember? She kind of gasped. Now she's talking about pieces of her in bags in a very matter of fact way.
We certainly, yeah. So
What you're saying.
we want to find Jennifer.
Okay.
We want to find her for her family. We want to find out what happened to her, even if it's bad. All right? Are we going to find her at Fort Jefferson Crossing or any part of her?
I mean, you guys, I can go with you, I can dig holes, I can do whatever you want.
Okay.
I mean, if she's there,
Dig holes?
but I don't know to find her.
Okay.
Again, it reminds me of the language Chris Watts used. You know, if they're there and they're safe, but it's a part of not knowing. You know, she's speaking in that kind of term, like she's turning it into a hypothetical that she may be still alive, but in a way that's not really convincing.
What about 80 Mountain Spring?
I could do the same thing with you guys.
Do you think she's there? Do you have any indication?
No, but
Any
if
feeling that she's at 80 Mountain Spring?
Why not?
There's 80 Mountain Spring, there's 84 Mountain Spring, there's 88 Mountain Spring.
She can be in any of those,
I mean,
or she can be in 585.
that was the next one I was going to ask about. Could she be up in the Storage area.
In the what?
The storage area. You have storage, self-storage by the pond. We're trying to find it. We don't necessarily think that you had something to do with killing her, but we think that you have some information that would help us find her.
I can go with you guys and I can spend 24 hours looking.
Michelle, the mess.
I know it's
The mess of blood that existed. Whoever removed her car her car was moved from her house.
So it bothers me that she is so disturbed by blood, but seemingly not disturbed by a body cut in pieces in a bathroom or in a bag. And I think the reason why, I'm speculating, but I think a possible reason why this shocks her is she was led to believe that the blood was cleaned up. She was led to believe that there would be no evidence at the crime scene. And now she's finding out that, oh shit, there's a lot of evidence. And that's the part she doesn't know about. In theory, if she is guilty, she would know about how much evidence is in the aftermath, meaning in those bags, in the truck, in the vehicle. And you would almost imagine that she'd be quite confident, feel quite safe, be quite certain that the part that she was responsible for, in theory, there wouldn't be very much evidence because by then it was all cleaned up. Most of the blood was cleaned up. So the part that seems to horrify her is the part that she didn't have anything to do with. Someone had made a major balls up and left behind a lot of blood evidence, which then does come back to implicate her, does come back to, it's not like there's just a big blank question mark of someone has disappeared and there's no trace of her. There's a lot of traces of her. That seems to be the part that's bothering her. Does that make sense, the way I'm kind of reasoning it?
It was covered in blood in the driver's seat. She wasn't the one driving. She was in the back with amounts of blood that are not. You're not going to be alive. Now you understand what I'm saying? And someone drove that car. There's no way. Fergus, Pavel, whoever, looking back and it wasn't obvious that something horrible happened. You don't just clean that up. It would have had to change your clothes for wash up. And where are they going to go and wash up? Where are they going to go and wash up?
The car?
Where would they go? So
A car wash.
a couple people are involved in this. She bled a lot.
She what?
She bled a lot. All right.
So he says a couple of people were involved in this. The officer also asks, where would you go to wash up? She volunteers, but with kind of a question. She says, a car wash. Car wash is actually part of this. Think about 2 or 3 scenarios. And what I'm trying to get you to think about is, what kind of scenario where someone commits a murder would other people put up their hands and say, pick me, I also want to be part of this, right? Let me say that again. Think about a scenario where someone wants to get rid of somebody else and a whole bunch of people would say, can I also be part of it, right? And what is the difference between a crime where no one wants to be part of it, no one needs to know about it, and another one where people are falling over themselves to participate? And I know some people believe that Chris Watts didn't work alone. I believe he did. There was no incentive to help Chris Watts because there was virtually no money to be made in that situation. Whereas in this situation, there's a shitload of money that is potentially at play here, right? So someone who is aware of the massive homes and properties and the millions of dollars that are kind of swishing around is probably thinking, you know, if I participate in killing someone with your help and your help and your help, then I stand to benefit big time. I can get pots of gold like that. And that's really where the thinking comes from. So what I'm trying to say is when there's a shitload of money at stake, right, millions and millions, then more than one person can see a what's in it for me thing. There's plenty to go around for us. And it makes the possibility of a conspiracy greater than if there's not a lot of money to go around. It's a very simple thing to think about, but the calculus nevertheless works. And here we're dealing with a case where you don't just have one potential accessory, you potentially have two, or maybe even more, but at least one other, and possibly more than one.
And these people are covered in blood. They drive the car, and even where their hands are on the wheel is covered in blood. That blood's going to start to dry, and dry blood is not easy to get off your skin. It's not easy to get off your clothes.
Yeah, but the issue isn't that someone is just doing this for money. We're talking about a lot of money, there's an extraordinary amount of money that is at stake here.
We've all had it happen. Where do you think they would have went to clean up?
The car?
And if they were in New Canaan, is there a place they would have gone?
I don't know New Canaan. The only thing I know about New Canaan is the two houses that Troconis has built.
The Sturbridge.
In the 180 whatever Hemlock.
Hemlock is someone lives there now?
Yeah.
The Sturbridge is still unoccupied.
Yes, because it's under construction.
Okay. Is there water there?
Where?
Do you know if water is the Sturbridge? No? You don't? Okay. It's fair enough. So basically, it's hard for us to understand how we could make it back, either one of them, if it was them, back to Farmington without.
So do you notice how the tone of the questioning has changed? It started off with a lot of chatter from the officers, and then there was a period where they sat back in quite a passive role. She leans forward, she's engaging, she's moving her hands over the table, waving her hands. Occasionally sits back with her arms folded, but basically she's doing all the talking. Now we've coming to the end of the interview, and you look at the posture of this officer over here. Does he look very invested in her? It almost looks like he's ready to leave the room. Look at the posture of her lawyer. There also seems to be a bit of resignation going on there. This officer is kind of leaning forward and he's peppering her with questions. He's basically saying, we don't believe you, we're not happy with this, that, and that, and that. And that's at the end of the whole process. That's the interview number one.
I mean, it was a lot of words. A lot.
Okay, my question. They drove with the Suburban, or how did they get?
Suburban was moved somewhere else within New Canaan by someone that had blood all over. The Suburban has damage. You just dropped it to get fixed.
Mine Suburban.
Your Suburban. The one that photos drove that thing. All right, and there's a lot of video, and there just happens to be a Suburban driving around the opposite neighborhood. We have that damage in the front left.
Yes, and I sent that. It's a car seller repair shop.
No, we haven't. When did it go? When did it go to repair?
I went there on Tuesday morning.
So we see the car.
Yes, but I crashed it.
Right, but we see the car in video with the white spot where the paint came off the bumper in New Canaan before Jennifer's death. Do you understand?
I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure.
The Suburban, the one that has the roof on the top.
When did Suburban go in the shop? This last Tuesday?
Yes.
That's after Friday.
Right. Yes, I made the arrangements.
Right, okay.
And it's in my emails.
I'll ask you a question.
I took the picture, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'll ask you a question if this is true. I don't know it to be true. When you dropped the car off at the dealership, it was explained to us that you asked for the car to be detailed inside and out at the request of your boyfriend. And that you asked him to do a very good job because he's crazy. Is that what you said?
No.
Okay, clarify that, please.
He knows the guy, the owner of the, he knows for this.
This is what they were telling us.
Okay, no. I said, now, he said, he showed, and the first thing he said, but this cannot be the quote they sent me. No way I cannot fix this car for.
That's not.
No, I'm just showing the conversation because I want to go. So we went to the inside the office, and in the office there was a guy in the computer, and they said, "Oh, these people are a mess." They sent me the registration that had a number 297, and I'm like, "No, I have the code that I sent you. It's like 600 and something." Okay, he said, "No, that's fine. We're gonna take care of it. Don't worry." I said, and then I sat in the waiting room to wait for the Enterprise to bring my car. I asked for Suburban. So he said, "Ask for Suburban because I need a Suburban for the kids." Okay. He comes back and said, "I checked your oil and it's in zero. Do you want me to put it?" I'm like, "Yeah, now that we're here, do everything and even clean it." And I know how faulty this is. He's very picky with his car.
So those were his words?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I ask, because people embellish it.
No, I never said that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell how detail-oriented she is. Remembers the conversation word for word, but I'm not too clear on whether this is after the incident, but she seems to be complaining about how much it is costing to fix a vehicle, if I'm understanding correctly. In other words, she's talking about the bill that she's about to get from some other mechanic, and she's upset about not being able to use her vehicle, isn't she?
He's very picky, and he knows faulties because actually I don't know the guy.
That's fine, that's how it came back to us, and
So
people do embellish.
he took the car.
That's fine.
The people at Enterprise wasn't coming.
The fool.
The what?
The fool.
Yes.
On the morning on Friday, the 24th, was the fool on top of the car?
And that never comes out.
It never comes out?
I have right now a Suburban that I rented. That's the one that the Enterprise gave me. He doesn't have that.
Yes,
So I don't know if that.
Entirely separate question, Sean. What kind of locks are on the doors of Jefferson? What kind of, what brand locks? Okay.
I know like this.
How about the keys?
We start using keys.
The keys at Mountain Spring, there's 3 different properties, right? At Mountain Spring?
Only one gate.
Right, okay, all right. Does Conus have keys, like a big key ring? You don't know?
Usually when I go inside the house, it's with the code, and it opens that garage.
So you have no idea where you might be able to help us out with where she is, where we can find her?
No.
Okay, we've got about 20 minutes to go. Do you guys want to look at that? I really want to read this, but I'm not sure if it's going to allow me to. 3 takeaways from Michelle Troconis' first police interview. I wonder if I shouldn't just sign into that. Just give me a second. I'll just play that in the background.
I mean, I can go with you guys. I'll do whatever. But no. I mean, if she's copying pieces, she's all over.
Did he ever say anything the folks ever seen from you about what happened?
No, he was concerned. He said, "I want my kids, I want my kids, I want my kids." He was worried about the
See if she recognizes this. Yeah, they're Baldwin brand keys. They say Baldwin on them, which is specific manufacturer.
Just pausing the video at 17:28:02. Detective Kimball, what are you showing the defendant at this point?
That is a photograph taken of a key ring that was seized out of the Albany Avenue trash.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, it's the same block type as on 69 Wells. Jennifer's 69 Wells, Jennifer's house.
Okay.
Okay. Does this type of key look familiar to you at all?
And the one that we have for the house, it has like a square and it has 2 keys. And it's from the house.
And then for Jeffers.
4 Jeffers. And it must be, or like a 40s household.
Sure. I'm good at this point. Alright. So, is there anything you want to ask us?
So, just FYI, the 3 takeaways from the interview, according to the Stamford advocate, were the police said that they feared for her life. The police said that there were inconsistencies in her story. And apparently she said after the disposal of the trash, Fota said to her, let's go to Starbucks.
No, ask, I don't know. There's, Pavel drives a pickup too.
Okay, pickup.
And the one that we have for the house, it has like a square and it has 2 keys. And it's from the house.
And then for Jeffers.
4 Jeffers. And it must be, or like a 40s household.
Sure. I'm good at this point.
So what are those keys for? What were those keys for? Was that established here? Any thoughts on that? The keys that were retrieved out of the trash, what keys were they? Terry says, why would Fotis involve her? Well, if you think about the Patrick Frazee case, why did Patrick Frazee involve his mistress? Because it can divert, number one, it can divert attention away from him, because you're going to be saying, how could you do this if you were somewhere? Well, the answer is if somebody else was doing something. Another possibility is always you can pin the crime on your accomplice. Another question, another reason why he might want to involve her is because he knows he kind of has her maybe he knows that he has her in his pocket, that she would do anything, right? Basically just to make the crime easier for him to commit and easier to get away with. That's, in theory, in practice, involving an accessory is almost never a good idea.
So, is there anything you want to ask us?
No, ask, I don't know.
Jennifer's keys, okay?
There's, Pavel drives a pickup too.
Okay, pickup. Registered to him?
No, that's his car.
Can you tell what color it is?
But if you think about this case, you might say it's a rhetorical question. It's not even necessary to ask it. But what is definitely confusing about this case is this sort of vehicular relay that's going on that definitely is confusing. The other thing is, as soon as you do involve other people, and bear in mind, they haven't been able to find Jennifer's body, it's because you're not simply following one person, you've now got to follow kind of a bunch of people, and that's not so easy to do, especially when they are covering for one another.
Bordeaux, like a reddish.
Is it Bordeaux like wine?
Yeah.
Actually, I do know. Which says, this is Pavel's car?
Pavel's car. He usually lives in the house when he changes his cars. If he doesn't take the car overnight. So that's another car that usually is around the house.
Where does Pavel live?
Just gonna pause it at 17:29:46. I want to talk to you about that last exchange. Had you asked the defendant up until this point about Pavel and a vehicle that he owned?
No.
Who is Pavel?
Pavel Guillaume, I believe the pronunciation of his last name, was the four-group project manager who was working with DULOS at the time. And he's essentially was an employee of the four-group.
And during the course of this interview on June 2nd, 2019, did the defendant ever tell you that Pavel's Gumieni's Toyota was located at 80 Mountain Spring Road on May 24, 2019?
No.
That is significant. That is significant. Bear in mind, she's paid so much attention to detail, but she doesn't mention that detail, and that's a very important detail.
At some point, you indicated that you interviewed her on separate occasions. Did she indicate to you that his vehicle was at 80 Mountain Spring Road?
Yes, she did.
So that is not only a major inconsistency, it's also a critical change in her statement. It's not like she forgot something that wasn't consequential. It's a really important part of the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's quite a good point, Erica.
And you know what kind of Toyota it is? Is it old or new?
It looks old, we destroyed, and it's very dirty inside.
Oh, great. You think it has a Connecticut license plate? You know?
Yes, it lives in Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
You know who's listening?
We do.
Governor recently.
Yes.
Photo says a friend named Mark that's very wealthy.
Yes, Mark Marcelo.
Did you recently loan money to folks?
So just to clarify, Pavel's, that's his first name?
Pavel.
Pavel.
Bueno, I pronounce it like that one, I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
You don't know if Mark did loan him any money at all?
But you can call him.
Do you know any reason why he would loan money?
No. I know in the past the father has loaned him money to build.
How much?
No.
Is it?
I don't get into those. You're asking me to
Is it lots and lots of money or you just don't?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I think
So again, look at the body language. He's got his arms folded. She's got her arms folded. And they're talking about Pavel and money and being in debt and I think loans from the father.
I keep getting back. But this is like many years ago.
It wouldn't surprise you if he told you that he had been received a large quantity of money or paid a lot.
So think about what's going on. Talking about money and arms lock up like that. So do you think money is a very important part of the story?
Very recent.
For whom?
We go to Mark or from Mark to Philip.
Well, the question is, do you know anything about it?
Okay.
That's all I have.
You're gonna, what are your plans? Do you have plans for bond?
Well, then you guys charge her with something else, there could be an additional bond. So that's the money thrown out the window, would be, yes. So, it's not going to surprise you to hear that I don't think she should be charged as an accessory. You know, or an aider and abettor.
So that's like pretty amazing. Just how in the middle of this, well, towards the end of this, he says, I don't think my client should be charged with being an accessory. And I think that's kind of where the penny maybe drops for her, because she is hearing her own lawyer talking frankly about what she may be facing. And I think shortly after this, within a couple of minutes of this, that she starts crying and gets on the floor.
You know, I've spent a lot of time with her recently, and there's a lot that she can't be precise about. So,
it's a major admission. There's a lot that my own client can't be precise about.
Question relies on her phone, not to set, in my view, not to set something up, but relies on her phone to say to me, look, this is when it happened. Okay, and I know that because I spoke with my friend or my daughter or whatever. So look, I mean, I've done a lot of these, a lot of cases. I don't see her lying.
Right, so he's giving a bit of a endorsement there. She's not able to be precise about certain things. She's not accurate about certain things. I don't think she's lying, right? But I mean, that's his client. It wouldn't really work if he said, I think she is lying. I mean, that would be not her lawyer doing his job, right?
No, I think she could be wrong. She could be inaccurate. I understand it. No question. Right. But I just don't see her lying. And I'm not saying, I would say the same thing to Richard. I mean,
So what has happened to this attorney? I mean, he's not in court by her side now. What happened to him? Did he have a change of heart? Did she fire him? What happened?
He's the prosecutor.
He's the state's attorney in Canada. And just to be clear, nobody is in charge yet, so
But I also want to tell you that when you said to her life with photos is over, I completely agree. Completely agree.
And I feel you would be different based on my observations and my personal professional experience for many years. When you left the other day, I walked you out with genuine concern for your safety. Okay? So I want you to understand that I'm not the only one who feels that way. We had a discussion of what we hoped wasn't going to happen to you that night, luckily it didn't. But the problem is, you were there, serious concerns about if he decides he wants to go somewhere out of the country, and he feels that you have knowledge, then he has to tie up his loose ends. We don't want something like that to happen.
No.
And I know you don't either. I know we discussed it before. So it's not a threat, it's just one concern that a lot of us.
Can you see she's starting to break down? But what is she breaking down about? She's breaking down about, is she guilty or is she innocent? Is she being believed or isn't she? And that is the part where I've got serious reservations. Is an innocent person would be very conscious of the overall arc of what's going on, whereas she seems to care about one thing more than anything, which is, do you believe me? Do you do you think, do you believe me, basically?
You said we thank you for talking. Please, thank you. If you come upon some new information or there's something you can reach out to your attorney, or you pass it to your attorney, or whatever. But I don't want to close the door.
No, but look, I want you to do something. This is seeing is the same person that I've seen over the last however long that I've been speaking.
Okay, yes,
I mean,
you have more experience with her than we do.
well, I want you to know that. I mean, I don't think that given what she cares about, I mean, it's a big blow to know that the person I've trusted, you know, is capable of doing this type of thing. Not only that, but involving her. Right. This is the word. Yeah. But involving her.
Potentially involving her happens all that. Right. And that's.
Now, what's quite strange here is they have almost forgotten that she's in the room. They're having a conversation about her with her sitting there. And it reminds me a little bit of the moment in the Chris Watts case where Tammy Lee says, you know, you have not shed one tear. And he suddenly remembers, oh, I should be emotional about this. And then he sniffs. Over here, her own lawyers said this would be a very big blow, the fact that this person that you love and trust, your boyfriend, could have done a thing like this. And it almost seems like she suddenly realizes this should be a big blow. This is how other people would see it.
That's why I said that. Right. Right, because if you're really victimized and getting control for something you really have no involvement in, those other two, your mother and your daughter was. That's why I was saying her, she's still in shock. Something may, as she comes off or whatever, things settle down, something may come to her. We're interested in that.
I mean, you know, it's a big deal for her to accept the fact that, number one, he could have done this. And number two, or the realization today that he involved her. So, why did he have to do that?
That's that.
I mean, is he that? Is he that cunning?
I'm assuming that's a rhetorical question, because if you'd like me to answer, I have an answer.
I'm sure you do.
So look at that body language. That's the most pathetic you've kind of seen her. She seems quite broken at that point where basically his lawyer says something to the effect of he seems to be involved and he seems to want to involve her or something like that.
But that should show her the type of person she's dealing with.
Right.
And we repeatedly have told exactly this on every single person we've
There are numerous people who are afraid.
Not one person has not said what you're saying. Can we ask Michelle?
It's strange body language, isn't it? Because she seems to be listening. I mean, the one moment she seems like overcome, but now she just seems to be listening.
The day that she was in the car when the garbage was gone. The clothing you were wearing, do you know where that is? Yeah, you remember you said you were wearing the dark color top and the camel pants in the closet. Is that normally where they are in one of the closets? Okay.
I'm washing.
Okay. So as far as you know, they're in the house. All right. Thank you so much for the, I know it was difficult when you've had very long, just like us, weeknights, so on and so forth.
I don't want to see my daughter. What's the procedure now?
Tomorrow we'll be in court. I'll be speaking with, I'll be, once the judge signs.
So she can't believe it. After all of that, it's like, okay, well, the result of this is tomorrow you're going to be in court. That's pretty devastating to her.
The order, only another judge can reduce it. So, I'll be with you tomorrow morning, and I'll talk to the state's attorney between now and then, and we'll see what we can do.
How does it work?
How does it work? The way it works is that when somebody gets arrested, a judge will either set bond or...
So you can imagine that's pretty triggering to hear. If somebody gets arrested, judge,
The police will set bond, okay? And if a bond is not that high, or if there's no requirement that the bond can only be posted at the courthouse, then people get a bondsman when they post a bond. But this is what you're saying. This is a murder investigation. And the investigation is active, it's continuing.
I was going to say kids.
Well, we don't know where Jennifer.
Depends on the If we find Jennifer, we have no way to know. If we never find Jennifer.
It can be 10 years.
Well, there are also, there's other avenues, just kind of, but this isn't gonna, we can't answer that question unless we know where Jennifer is. In the immediate future, we can't answer that question unless we know where Jennifer is. We've done, we've been looking.
I think that all of them notes.
Michelle, why do you think we distrust you so hard? What do you think? Why do you think we just talked to you at length? And your attorney's been here 3 times today. We all want to find Jennifer. I think there's only one person who doesn't want us to find Jennifer. And he will not talk. He won't talk. Close? No. Absolutely not. Did he tell you not to cooperate? No, he never told you that? Okay. Well, he's demonstrated that. So, yeah, all right. So anyway, we're trying. All right. No idea where to shoot. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to meet with her now. I'm going to meet with her now. Yes. I will give her your.
Can I go for a little
Please.
I know we all already are.
So I've said this before. Michelle is actually quite a emotional, demonstrative person. You actually see her so emotional that she goes down on her knee, looks like she's begging her lawyer about something. And it's quite an astonishing about turn. You know, 1 minute she's talking about pieces of Jennifer in a bathroom in a very nonchalant way. And then the next, she's completely overwhelmed. But it seems when it's about her, when it's about going to court, she says something about 10 years. Then she's very emotional when it's got to do with herself. But the point I'm trying to make is someone who is, I don't want to use the word unstable, but someone who is capable of feeling extremes of emotion. And you see those extremes in the gestures she makes, in these extremes of being completely, I don't want to say calm, but unemotional, being unemotional, talking about really serious things, and then and also being unemotional given the context that she's actually in, where most people would feel overwhelmed with 3 people asking her questions. She only gets upset at the thought of something happening to her, and completely overwhelmed, on her knees, crying kind of to a lawyer. And you've got to ask the question, the stress of what they were going through in terms of the divorce, the motions, the finances, was that not overwhelming her as well? Was that not why she felt driven to respond in some way? Does that make sense? In other words, we've gotten to know her a little bit better. And is she someone who might be motivated to do something because she felt emotionally overwhelmed? Bear in mind, she's got a daughter. Bear in mind, she doesn't want to lose what she has. And some people may feel, I don't want to lose what I have, but some people may feel desperate not to lose what they have. Yeah, so very dramatic. So I actually am surprised we've gone past the 3-hour mark. I thought we would barely get past the 2-hour mark. Thanks a lot for staying with me. I'm sorry about the audio not being so great. let's just have a look at how she appears in court after that was played.
Detective Kimball, directing your attention now to June 6, 2019, did you have an opportunity to speak with the defendant again?
Yes, we did.
And was that interview also recorded?
Yes, it was.
And during the course of that conversation, did you have an opportunity to speak about the whereabouts of Fotis Doulos on the morning of May 24th?
Yes, we did.
Judge, this is a natural time to...
Well, with counsel approach, please.
Yes.
Anyway, I must say, I'm not sure if the article in the Daily Mail about her crying, sobbing in court, maybe she did shed a tear, but seems a little bit overstated. She certainly seemed to be sobbing in that interrogation cubicle, doesn't she? So the last thing I want to do is just cover a little bit more of this analysis by NBC Connecticut. It just gives a nice little overview.
Case. They are videos Michelle's attorney unsuccessfully tried to keep out of the trial. They were recorded just days apart in June.
So there's her attorney again. He's present at I think it's the second interrogation, and can you see they've done a better job here. It's for the visuals are much better. I'm presuming the audio will be a lot more audible. The audio should be a lot clearer. But is this guy that's sitting here, is he present in court now, today, during this trial? So anyway, that's something we've got to look forward to. I didn't think they would get through all of the video today, and so it might be two more days just covering, at least 2 more days covering just day 2 on the 6th and day 3 on the August the 13th. And so yeah, we'll probably be doing that on trial day 11 and 12 at least.
June of 2019, after Michelle's first arrest, and it's the only time we have heard from the defendant in her own words. And
so that is incredibly valuable. It does make one wonder, is she going to testify? What do you guys think? Is she going to testify? Should she testify? Also interesting is the defense have worked hard to keep this out of the trial, and they failed. And you can see why they try to work hard. It's not a very good look for her.
maybe the only time jurors will ever hear from Michelle Troconis if she chooses not to testify in her own defense. It will hear what's in some of those videos coming up. We're also taking you through some of the items seized from Fotis Doulos' properties and vehicles. That includes handwritten notes found at the Jefferson Crossing house.
That is also something that is weighing very heavily against, would an innocent person need to do that? So I want to just go to this part of the interview.
Starting at pretty much midnight on May 24th, all the way throughout the entire day. So we're expecting the jury to pretty much just walk through the entire interview, sort of get a feel exactly for what the entire day. So we're expecting.
So over here, this seems to be another interview in that same cubicle, unfortunately. This is the next one. This was the second one. Or am I wrong? She seems to be dressed differently here. It seems like this was done just much later. Was it later the same day or earlier the same day?
The jury to pretty much just walk through the entire interview, sort of get a feel exactly for what Michelle Troconis was doing, what she claimed she was doing, what she was thinking.
We've thrown garbage bags in other opportunities, but I've never been in that area.
What do you? He only threw one garbage bag.
He threw one garbage, and I think he had to move the car because the police or something was there.
He threw the garbage bag into what?
No, in a dumpster or I don't know what.
How long did this whole was the distance? Was it fast?
No, yeah, because then we went to Starbucks.
Troconis went on to say she was on the phone with her friend and did not know what was in the back of the Ford Raptor. I'm joined now by Dave Altamari, an investigator.
Okay, so I'm not going to take it any further than that. This guy has been causing me a lot of trouble. When I take him for walks, I try and it's in the open countryside, I try not to put him on a leash. He spends enough time as it is kind of holed up. And so I just want to give him a bit of freedom. We got into a bit of trouble where someone insisted that you put a dog on a leash. So I actually think I'm just not going to take him for a walk today just to avoid that. Or maybe I'll take him somewhere else today just to avoid drama. Let's go through a couple more of your comments before I say adios. Like I say, what we really need here is a transcript. It's very difficult to imagine that there isn't one, but so far we don't have one. I'm surprised that the prosecution aren't well, maybe it's too early. Maybe they will be referring to one. That's a good question. Who is the friend who was supposedly on the she was supposedly on the phone with? I will probably, like I said, I probably will take him somewhere not where I've been taking him, and hopefully that'll be okay. Terry says, we appreciate your time and talents on this trial. Audio was better than the court live stream today. Well, that's good to hear. Okay, so definitely the audio is going to get better, especially I think the August 13th is very clear audio and video. So I'm looking forward to that. I must say I was really disappointed at the video and audio quality for this. So anyway, that's how it goes. Thanks a lot, Deborah. I do want to encourage you guys to watch the video I put up on the Rust incident, Alec Baldwin. I think a lot of people are just turned off by the sort of political aspect to it. It's not really about that at all. It's about the subtle area between an accident and murder. And this is in a way the same thing. Although it's not the subtle area between an accident, it's a subtle area between murder and are you guilty by association? If you are, how guilty are you? And so I quite like this case because it's quite unusual for its subtlety. And what is so interesting with the Alec Baldwin case is it also tests your critical thinking, your attention to detail, your ability to integrate all sorts of information in a way that brings you to a something that you need to distill into a legal argument. I find that definitely quite interesting. For those of you who've been following my journey across America, some good news. I have been twisting my insurer's arm a little bit, and looks like they are coming to a decision. It's been a little bit of a tricky, wriggly experience with them, but seems like there's going to be a positive result at the end of it. We'll see what it is. We'll see if it's acceptable, but it's at least a step in the right direction. Okay, Chelsea says, please hit the like button. Bear in mind, if you're enjoying this community, if you're enjoying this coverage, there is a community on Patreon, patreon.com/TCRS. You can get access to 20 audiobooks on the $5 and $10 tier. Most of the default coverage is on the $3 tier, so maybe try it out for a month or so, see how you feel. I'm also on Twitter at Crime Rocket, and Instagram. You can just Google my name and Instagram, and you should be able to find me there. Thanks a lot, mods. Thanks for your great work. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for. I haven't really seen too many comments here that are offensive. So I have seen one or two that are a little bit out of place, but overall, great to have such a cool community. Thanks for being so authentic and intelligent, and making this also interesting for me. Some interesting comments, some interesting insights from you guys as well. Okay, so guys, you must have a good sleep. I'm going to start my day. So sweet dreams. I'll see you probably bright and early my time. Around about, it's 3 a.m. for me when we start covering this. But I see the sun has come out, touching the trees with a little bit of gold light. Looks like a blue sky day. Thanks so much, Terry. Thank you, guys. Did you see that, mods? Nice compliment. Yeah, we don't want to have comments about other cases when we dealing with this case. So, okay. Something that does offend me a little bit is I've seen a couple of comments from people saying, not here, saying that I should get my teeth fixed. And what they don't realize is I spent my entire high school, let me say that again. I spent my entire high school, every single year that I was in high school, with braces, including an external brace, which kind of had a lifelong traumatic impact. I mean, I have had nightmares about, am I wearing the brace? Where is the brace? For years afterwards. And so I wore this brace religiously. I was only supposed to wear it 14 hours a day. I wore it about 23 hours a day. I think I only took it off when I had a bath. And it still didn't really correct my teeth very much. You may think I don't care about my teeth. These teeth on the side here were pulled, they were permanent teeth. They were pulled when I was about 10 or 11 years old. The adults around me thought that it was a great idea. And after pulling these teeth in the front of my mouth, they spent the next 5 years trying to close the gaps that they'd created. And, you know, it's something that I've had to live with, decisions adults made on my behalf. I've had to live with it. And although I'm not happy, and I wouldn't say, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist about my own appearance, but I'm certainly not thrilled that I've got these holes in my, you know, between my teeth. I've just sort of felt like I'm not going to worry about it anymore. If you think that I'm someone who doesn't smile a lot, that's possibly part of the reason for it. you smile and then someone says, wow, you've got horrible teeth, right? So those are some of the comments that people do leave that are quite painful. And it's quite strange that people don't seem to think that you might be aware of it, that you might be aware that that's the case. But anyway, the backstory is I've had quite a few operations on my mouth. I've had the kind of braces that most people who have the worst braces, it's not even close to that. So think about an external brace for 5 years while you're in high school. And the effect that had on me was it turned me from a very sociable, happy, extroverted child to a very muzzled, quiet, passive, bullied, humiliated child for about 5 years. That's quite something to put someone through. And so if the idea is to submit oneself to additional orthodontics, I choose not to do that. Thanks very much. So yeah, some people can be really cruel on YouTube. You do need to have a thick skin, but it's also not necessary for people to be so nasty, that's for sure. Probably the person who made that, yeah, it does make you introspective. Probably the person who made that comment won't be watching this. So I'm not really, I'm preaching to the converted anyway. Sheila says, you're in Florida. Well, it is 23 minutes past 6 in the morning where I am, and it's going to be a hot day, another hot day. Yeah, it is the worst. It is the worst. That the same person who said, fix your teeth, and I think my teeth are dirty or something like that. I don't actually have a single filling in my teeth. I don't have one filling. So I don't think my teeth are dirty. But anyway, I shouldn't be telling you guys this. I should be directing it to that particular person. But just to let you know that there are some incredibly hurtful comments that you get by being, you know, on in this format. Anyway, yeah, lucky me, and touch wood, it may not last forever. Desert Cat, 4:30 here in the UK. Are you going to get some sleep? I hope so. Heat wave in Oz. Okay. Keep cool. Keep cool. No, it was someone who left comments on my Madeleine McCann videos. I don't know if they were trying to get a rise out of me. Anyway, thanks everyone for being here. Please spread the word if I'm about to go live. Let's try and get the viewership. Let's try and get it to 500. Maybe some of you can share on Facebook, share on X. Let people know that we're doing this. The next 2 days ought to be interesting, so it should really be worth inviting your friends to come and watch. Okay, so I'm going to play out. Again, thanks for the mods doing your thing. Everyone in chat, thank you very much. I'm going to take Timmy for a short walk, so he's not losing out. What's the other thing? Where was I? I just want to reduce this. Sweet dreams, sleep well, keep warm, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. I think there were a couple of super chats as well. Thanks very much for that. Keep them coming.